Welcome back to another FPL deadline stream, this time at a Gameweek 7. We've got an international break upon us and 1 hour and 53 minutes until the deadline. Let's lock in our FPL teams and answer all your questions and comments, highlight the key topics throughout the week. And a lot of this may have been covered already in my podcast, like the transfer tips, best wildcard team, and team selection. So be sure to keep your eyes peeled throughout the week for that content and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy it. Our aim is to get to 30,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're getting very close towards that milestone, and I also do use your fantasy content, so be sure to check that out if you haven't already. And let's get straight into your questions. So Eamon says, Mark Townsend 57, rest in peace. Indeed, I concur your thoughts. Rowan says, start Fleckin or Sanchez. Difficult one. I don't trust either team defensively, but you'd probably give the edge to Chelsea overall. Now, the last time these two teams faced at Stamford Bridge, it was a 1-0 victory for Forest. Different managers for both teams, though, and circumstances. I think in this instance, I think I'd go for Sanchez, but it's a very close call. Arthur says, Gameweek 1 of no Haaland and Salah. Yeah, I saw your comment the other day. I wish you the very best with that strategy. I don't think there's one right way of playing FPL. I was doing quite well until Gameweek 4, basically. Then it started going downhill as soon as I made transfers. So maybe the moral of the story is sometimes don't make any changes. But yeah, I hope it goes very well for you. Cylindra says, hey Dylan, which two to start between Lewis, Collins and Chris Wood? I'd go for Rico Lewis and Collins. Now, there is always the possibility of Chris Wood scoring a penalty or just getting that kind of scrappy goal and maximum bonus points. But I'd go for Lewis and Collins here. And I've got 2 free transfers. Is it worth selling Semenyo to Kulusevski for better long-term fixtures because I only have Dibbling as bench cover in the attack? Or should I save my transfer to have free after the international break? Kulusevski's been in good form, and even back to pre-season, he was always someone who looked to be on fire for Tottenham. But I would rather keep Semenyo this week against Leicester, and if you want to sell him in Game Week 8, I think that would be best. So you have free transfers for the international break where injuries could happen. Also possible rotation for someone like Diaz or those returning from long flights from South America and Asia. So yeah, I probably would save the transfer here. Ray says, do I wildcard now or wait after the international break and then do the wildcard? Look, with these kind of questions, I think it's probably best if I have a bit of context about your team. I don't mind wildcarding in Game Week 7, but if I had to have a preference on the face of it, it would be Game Week 8 because you've got that international break. And you've also got plenty of fixture swings. I think there's a question just a few sequences after about, you know, what are the best fixture swings for a wildcard? And I think Game Week 12 could be another one of them. We've got plenty of fixture swings throughout the season for multiple teams. But I think if I had to pick, it would be Game Week 8 during the international break. Wildcard isn't activated for me. I used it last week and I basically lost out on 20 points. I do think in the long term I will gain those points back because I'm very confident in my picks, but it didn't work out in Game Week 6. Arthur puts his wildcard team. Any changes you'd make? So there are some good picks in there. Lewis and Gavardio is a nice kind of differential duo, although if I'm being honest, the only defense I'd really want to double up on this season is Arsenal. And I said this last year as well. But the midfield and attack, that's definitely the strongest part of your team. But if I had to be critical, it would be the defensive line. I know Pickford's got great fixtures until December. You've also got Aït-Nouri there. But yeah, a double up in the Everton defense, I can't really justify that despite the fixtures. They might get some clean sheets very soon, but I just wouldn't go there. And then, yeah, with Wolves, Aït-Nouri, good fixtures coming up, but don't really trust them. Gabriel Gavardio and Lewis, of course, look really good, but I'd reconsider your choice of goalkeeper and possibly one of your other defenders, the 4th or 5th option. But yeah, the midfield and forward line, you won't find me complaining about anything really. You've got a double up in the Spurs attack, but that could work well until Game Week 11. You've got Havertz and Saka. So a lot of double ups there, as I can see there. But I think it'll work out very well. But I'd reconsider the choice of goalkeeper and the 4th and 5th defender, like I said. JP says, hi mate, I have Gabriel, Trent, Robinson, Mosquera, Barco. Do you recommend starting Robinson or something else? I wouldn't start him this week. I sold him on the wildcard in Game Week 6. And look, Forest away isn't the worst fixture, so maybe I could have waited in cases like that. But against City away, even if Fulham get a result, I just don't see them keeping a clean sheet. Robinson's got attacking potential this season. We know this. Even last campaign, he got 6 assists. But if possible, I'd look to upgrade your defence. Gabriel and Trent, of course, are great, but the rest looks a bit weak, so I'd definitely look to make a transfer there. Also, hold or sell Diaz. We might get a leak about Liverpool because it is the early kickoff. And if Diaz doesn't start, I'm looking to sell him. That could be to Jared Bowen. I should put a poll out and I'll show you very soon all the options. But I could also stretch to Cole Palmer or possibly Phil Foden. It would require downgrading Trent though, which isn't ideal. Might go for Brennan Johnson or Trossard. I'd pick Brennan Johnson out of the two. My only concern is that you're kind of buying him towards the end of his run maybe, because that's 5 games in a row now that he's scored and all of them have been the winners. Trossard looks great for this week. I like him a lot, even Bournemouth away. And Trossard is kind of a man of big moments for Arsenal, so he can score in the tougher games against Liverpool, which he did last year, Chelsea and Newcastle, but I think I'd go for Brennan Johnson right now. Yeah, what time do you reckon Liverpool leaks will happen? Probably 15 minutes before the deadline. Roughly, of course. I'm not going to have the exact information on that, but I'd probably say in over an hour's time, so still got to wait a little while longer. James123 says, hello Dylan, who to start, Einat, Mikalenko or Greaves? I'd go for, it's tough. I think I'd go for Mikalenko purely because they're at home. The thing is, I think Forest have the best defence of those 3 teams, and they kept the clean sheet at Stamford Bridge last season, and they'll probably play a similar way to how they did against Liverpool. I'm kind of tempted to say Aina, to be honest, out of those 3, but I'm going to stick with Mikalenko for now. Is Diaz going to play? I honestly couldn't tell you for sure. I've actually got some doubts about that. Some predicted lineups do have Gakpo on the left, and Diaz starting in the Champions League doesn't fill you with confidence. So if Jota starts again and Diaz is benched, I'm just going to regret that decision. Start McNeil or Chris Wood? Tough one, but I'd go for McNeil. Omara says, good morning, Dylan. What do you think about this wildcard team? 0.2 million in the bank. Yeah, very strong again. Ederson is always a bit of an iffy one for me. I just stick with Rico Lewis, to be honest. I wouldn't go for Michael Keane because, look, if Branthwaite is out, that would be a massive blow to Everton, and Keane would come back in, but long-term, that isn't a solution for you. I'd rather go for another Formula defender like Van den Berg, if you wish, but ideally, you'd probably upgrade that position a little bit to a 4.5 million option at least. The midfield and forward line, once again, very strong. Not sure about Fernandes, though. Great underlying numbers, but it just doesn't seem to be a season right now. That could change, of course, and United's fixtures look really good after Game Week 7, but I wouldn't recommend Bruno Fernandes. Maybe find a way to stretch to Phil Foden. I think that could be a massive differential up until Game Week 11 at the very least. But in order to do that, you have to make a downgrade elsewhere, which could be Ederson. Ederson to Flecken would be one such example. Use that money to upgrade Fernandes to Foden, and also try to change Michael Keane to Van den Berg or a 4.5 million defender, which would require another downgrade elsewhere. Yeah, fair enough. Dalot, Bruno, Gabriel, Haaland, Vardy before the wildcard. I just wouldn't keep Bruno on it. Dalot, you could also downgrade to Mezraoui, by the way, to save a little bit of money. I don't think there's much between them. You could argue Dalot's more nailed on, but we don't know that yet until Luke Shaw comes back. But ultimately, I wouldn't have Bruno. I went from Jota to Diaz. Now should I go back? Not really. I'd rather go in a different direction. If you've got funds, Phil Foden would be my answer. Otherwise, Jared Bowen is probably a very good option this week. And even in the next couple, Tottenham away doesn't really discourage me too much. I think Bowen could score. He did it last season as well. And West Ham have been really poor. That's my biggest worry with buying Bowen. But I really trust the player. He's very consistent and always produces attacking returns. Is Barnes going to play? He should do. With Isak still a doubt. Yeah, I think Gordon down the middle with Barnes and Murphy is the likely front three until Isak returns. Is Van den Berg more appealing than Fass and Keane? I think so, but there's always a bit of a risk with him. He could drop out of the 11. Thank you, Ahmed, for tuning in. 4:10 a.m. I mean, I'm struggling to wake up at 7 for this stream, so I appreciate it. Wait, did I... Oh, don't tell me I've got it in the title. 1 second. Give me a second. For some reason, it's not letting me change stuff here. Does it say wildcard activated? Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm an idiot. Apologies for that. So, yeah, I can see why people are asking the questions. I was fairly sure I got rid of that. Yeah, if only I had another wildcard to use again, but I appreciate the correction. Harrison James says, had Palmer and Jota moved to Saka and Diaz, Sod's Law. Now I can take more fun risks with differentials, though, to try to get back. Sometimes that can work when you have this kind of careless attitude and say, you know what, I'm just going to play it my way. But look, FPL is full of ups and downs, and you just got to embrace them. But yeah, I'm still quite confident in my team. I'm just more frustrated about the players I sold doing so well when they were quite useless for me for plenty of game weeks. Who's more likely to get GA, Van Dijk or Robertson? Well, Van Dijk will score more goals, but in terms of goals and assists combined, it would be Robertson still for me with the assists. So that's probably what I'd go for. Welcome, Baraf. Eze to Rodgers. Not a bad shout. I actually don't mind Rodgers this week. I'm starting him myself. But I'd probably go to McNeil right now. The fixtures are so good for Everton. Ahmed, thank you for the super chat. I got Rodgers, Palmer, Saka, McNeil, Mbumo, Haaland and Welbeck on the attack, thinking of a -4 for Havertz or Solanke for Joao Pedro. Your thoughts? Yeah, this week I prefer Havertz, but I think longer term Solanke is the safer play, so to speak, because Spurs' fixtures are better. And I also think Solanke is in a bit of a streak right now, scoring in 3 consecutive games. I mean, he did come on as a substitute in the Europa League on Thursday, so that kind of ruined the streak, but yeah, I think Solanke is a good option. I think Havertz has a higher ceiling, but Solanke might tick along very nicely over the next month or two. So looking longer term, I would go for Solanke because it also gives you that Spurs attacking coverage, and you've already got Arsenal in the bank with Saka. So that'd be my 2 cents on it. I do like Havertz a lot this week, though, I have to say. He could even score a brace. Wouldn't surprise me if he got his first hat-trick for Arsenal, but yeah, I'd go for Solanke for the longer term play. Aranya says, hey Dylan, final thoughts on who to bench between DC and Rodgers? The same as I said to you before. And also, is Luis Diaz starting? I couldn't tell you for sure if he's going to start. I've actually got some doubts about him doing so, especially after starting against Bologna in the Champions League. Any early team news? Not at the moment. I have 2 free transfers. Can I save up to 3? Yeah, you can save up to 5 this season. Buy Trossard, sell Rice, especially this 2 game weeks. Saka too expensive for my budget. Yeah, if you can't go to Saka, then fair enough. Probably Trossard. Triple captain Haaland or Palmer. This week I prefer Haaland as a captain, so I would point you in that direction. I have to say, though, Game Week 9, Southampton at home for Erling Haaland. I'd be very tempted. Should I play Smith-Rowe instead of Aina? Yeah, Smith-Rowe will have the higher ceiling. But I think Aina has the higher floor, if you catch my drift. He's more likely to give a return with a clean sheet against Chelsea than Smith-Rowe scoring against City, but I'd probably go for Smith-Rowe here just for the attacking potential. I'm always a bit uncomfortable benching an attacker. No worries, Ahmed. Let me know how it goes. Start Luis Diaz or Chris Wood? Diaz, but I'm already prepared to sell Diaz if he is benched. We might get information in the next hour or so. I don't know with Madueke. I just don't really trust him as a player. Even the manager said that he's inconsistent, so yeah, his numbers aren't bad in terms of the stats, the underlying stats, but the goals and assists will never be consistent for me. Not anytime soon, anyway. Will Arsenal rotate this game week? It's possible. I don't see massive rotation, though. I'd say 2 to 3 changes maximum, especially with it being the last game before an international break. Should I captain Saka over Haaland as a differential? If you really believe he can outscore Haaland, then yes. And I think the fixture is definitely a big part of that discussion. I'm personally going for Haaland because I could see him scoring 2 or 3 goals against Fulham, but I had that logic in the last couple of weeks and hasn't really paid off recently. Akshat says planning to play the wildcard and offload Foden, Maatsen, Joao Pedro, Smith-Rowe, Mazraoui, McAllister. I don't really mind most of the players you're selling. Mazraoui is still okay for me, but Phil Foden, really? I mean, you had him from the beginning and now you're looking to sell him on the wildcard. I don't really agree with that. I think now would be the time to buy him. Hey Dylan, start 1. Wood, DCL, Mikalenko, and Greaves. I'd actually go for what the fuck am I saying? Calvert-Lewin. He's got a good record against Newcastle. I believe it's 6 goals in 11 games. If Diaz doesn't start, what do you think about Diaz plus Wood to Havertz and Smith-Rowe with 0.7 million in the bank for free and later replace Saka for Palmer for tough fixtures coming up? Yeah, I like those transfers overall. It's just Smith-Rowe's a bit awkward buying him this week, facing City away. Then you got Aston Villa, which isn't that bad, but I'd reconsider Smith-Rowe in Game Week 7. Maybe you could go to one of Semenyo, who to be fair has bad fixtures after Game Week 7, for at least 3 game weeks. You could also go for McNeil and Rodgers. My advice would be McNeil if you don't have him already, and Havertz is absolutely fine. Took a -8, Salah to Palmer, Pedro to DCL, and Powell to Gavardio, and I still have to play Greaves. I think these transfers are good for the coming weeks too. Yeah, the only concern with what you said though is selling Salah as part of a -8 because he's got a great record against Crystal Palace. Selling a player of that quality for a hit, especially a -8, can always backfire, but yeah, I think that's... The other transfers look good. I'm just a bit concerned about Salah to Palmer and the timing of it. Is Son's absence going to affect Spurs' attack? Does that make getting Brennan Johnson not as appealing this week? Well, Johnson did get a goal and assist without Son, although a lot depended on game state with the red card to Bruno Fernandes, which shouldn't have been a red, of course. Johnson actually scored in the 96th minute against Brighton last season in a 2-1 victory at home. But once again with Johnson, I think he's a good option at 6.5 million, but I'm a bit concerned that we're approaching the end of his streak, as he has scored in 5 games in a row, and Johnson isn't the most consistent player. I think he's fairly streaky, like a Marcus Rashford, for example. I don't think managers rotate before the international break. Well, no. I mean, in many cases they don't, but there is also a few things to take into account, and one of them is the fact that with Arteta, he's got a good opportunity here against Southampton at home to rest 2 or 3 players, because some of them have been overworked. Someone like Jurrien Timber, I'd be surprised to see start, to be fair. He's also a bit of an injury doubt, but it all depends on the other circumstances in terms of if Ben White is available and the other right-back options. Will Foden start? I think so. A lot of City fans are very confident. The same goes for Rico Lewis, which hopefully bodes well. You can never say for sure, but I think Foden, with that performance in midweek, I think he could be a great solution for Man City's problems. Hey Dylan, which 2 to start? Smith-Rowe, Hudson-Odoi, and Pau Torres. Probably tough one, I have to say, but I'd probably go for Smith-Rowe and Hudson-Odoi and just go for the attackers. I think United do score against Villa, and they did the double over them last season. I think that Sterling will make me rise further in the standings because the right side of Southampton receives many attacks and the players do not control the ball. Yeah, but you need Sterling to get minutes, and he hasn't really been getting too many recently. Only 1 start against Bolton in the Carabao Cup. This is a good opportunity for a player like Sterling to get some minutes, but I wouldn't recommend him beyond the Southampton fixture because Martinelli is currently first choice. Any news on Diaz? Not at the moment. Once it comes through, I'll let you know. How long until Ten Hag stays? I think a lot depends on the result this weekend. If they lose, he probably gets sacked in the international break. But if they get a win, he lives to fight another day. I think that's how it could really come down, unless United have someone in mind to appoint as his replacement and they're available. They've already made talks behind the scenes, something that hasn't been reported, so we don't know the full context. Robertson is in today. I believe so. I mean, Tsimikas could always get some minutes and starts off him. We've seen that in the Champions League already. But he's not someone I'd recommend buying. If you've got Robertson, you probably just start and hope for the best. Konsa or Smith-Rowe to start? I'd probably go Smith-Rowe here, but once again, I'm not really backing either player to really return, to be quite honest with you. But I could see Fulham getting a goal and Smith-Rowe. I don't know, it wouldn't completely surprise me if Smith-Rowe did something today. Southampton and Fulham, which team has the worst expected goals conceded? Of course, Southampton. Fulham's is actually, I think, the 6th or 7th best the last time I checked in the Premier League, but they're facing Man City. They've got an awful record against them. I think City, if I'm not mistaken, have got penalties in a lot of games consecutively against Fulham, and also they've won like 9 in a row against them. They've got an amazing record. So, look, with Southampton, of course, they're probably the worst team in the Premier League. But I think with Arsenal and the likes of Saka, his ceiling isn't as high as an Erling Haaland, and that's the reason why most people will go for Haaland as the captain. I think Jota will start, yeah. Should you ever start more than 3 defenders? From time to time, I think it's not really that bad. I used to play 4 at the back quite regularly and probably did better in FPL than I'm doing right now, so you can definitely start 4 or 5. I think 5 isn't really ideal, but it can sometimes pay dividends. Thoughts on McNeil and Delap? I've covered McNeil extensively this week, and I always highlight him as a decent option with those fixtures. Delap, I haven't really talked about much. I probably should have given him more coverage, but he's a decent budget forward, that's for sure. And with Ipswich's fixtures, I actually don't mind that so much. Opinions on Barnes. He has been Newcastle's best asset for me, especially amongst the attackers this season. but I still think over the course of the campaign, Gordon will outscore him. But it will be close, and I think the biggest problem with me that I have with Harvey Barnes is the minutes. He can start a game, then be benched, and only get a 25-minute cameo. He might make an impact, but it's just not really as consistent as you would like. So once Isak is back, I could see that being a problem. Yeah, no news on Diaz or Lewis at the moment. Will Pope play? He is a doubt, but just one thing I have to say, and maybe I'm being a bit harsh, I just don't really trust Eddie Howe in his press conferences, so I'm always a bit skeptical. Eze or Smith Rowe? Probably Eze here, but yeah, Eze's coming up against the team with the best expected goals conceded in the league. He's been awful in the Premier League so far this season in terms of goals and assists, but I'd go for Eze here. Yeah, I can understand that, Rai, but I'd probably go for Haaland personally. Now, it's not 100% locked in. If I were to change the captaincy, it would be to Saka with the players I have. I might even make a late move to someone like Foden or Palmer if Diaz doesn't start, and that would require selling Trent. And they could also be captaincy considerations for me, but I think the two you mentioned are probably the best on paper this week. Palmer or Salah as the captain? I think Salah. So the way I'd rank it is Haaland first, Saka second, Salah third, Palmer fourth. I'll probably have to think about the fifth option here, but that's kind of my settled top four right now. Foden definitely actually interests me as a fifth option. Should I transfer out Munoz or Robinson to Leif Davis or Aït-Nouri? I think Leif Davis. He's got a lot of attacking potential, especially from the Championship. He's got an assist already this season. And once that's the case, he can get bonus points. And Ipswich have been fairly impressive so far. They've definitely been competitive against some of the best teams in the league, so I'd go for Leif Davis at this moment in time. Who should you transfer out? Probably Munoz. With Robinson, you bench him against City, and then you can reintroduce him in the future game weeks. But Fulham's fixtures aren't great right now. They're not awful, but they're not great. Diaz and Trent to Foden and Robertson, 2 free transfers. I like the look of it. It's never ideal to sell Trent, but you're going to Robertson. If you want to be a bit safer, maybe go for Van Dijk, but overall, I really like it. If you decide to replace Diaz with Palmer, who are you looking to get for Trent? Well, unfortunately, I'm limited in my options. So if I were to get Palmer, it'd be Van den Berg. I'd only have 4.3 million in the bank. So yeah, might as well talk about it. But first off, let's go through the FDR. Brentford are top until Game Week 12, with City, Everton, Leicester, and Man United in the top 5. If you look at the teams at the bottom, Chelsea, Brighton, Bournemouth, Southampton, and Nottingham Forest, the likes of Arsenal, Villa, and Liverpool are also near the bottom, even Newcastle around mid-table. As for predicted points, Palmer is actually... Wait, no, he's not. He's second, isn't he? This is not... For some reason, it's... Wait, what? Wow, Palmer is top. Okay, so Haaland has dropped down dramatically. I think that's because of the yellow flag. I actually thought there was an error there. Saka, Salah, Havertz are in the top 4, with Trossard, Gabriel, Watkins, Eze, Mbeumo, and Wood in the top 10. Eze seems to always be here, and he's not delivering points. I think at one point this week, he was in the top 3 with this algorithm, which I highly disagree with, but Eze just needs 1 goal to get bonus points. That's the good thing about him. As for price changes, we could see Palmer, Tuanzebe, Sanchez, and Havertz go up in price, with Anderson, Son, White, Onana, Munoz, Udogi, Nkuku, Elanga, and Eze dropping tonight. We'll probably see more transfer activity, well, we will see over the next hour, and that will result in more price changes over the weekend. As for Drafthound, they still recommend the same transfers, really, in terms of Mykolenko and Solanke out for Gvardiol and Welbeck, or a player at a similar price. Also, Trent to Dalot and Solanke to Watkins. I do like the Watkins transfer, but I think Solanke should be higher rated by this algorithm as well. They also recommend selling Chris Wood and Semenyo, but I'm quite happy with my setup. But if I see Diaz being benched, that's where my polls come in. So one of them is pick your Game Week 7 captain. 66% have gone for Haaland, with Saka in second with 20. Then we've got Palmer and Salah in third and fourth respectively. And this is related to my transfer plan, so we'll see what the votes are saying. So with 37%, people are actually recommending Trent and Diaz out for Van den Berg and Palmer. Now, Van den Berg, on the face of it, isn't terrible, but I've already got a 4 million defender in my setup with Greaves, and I've got Mykolenko with Rico Lewis, which I think is a bit of a weak backline, even if it means getting Cole Palmer. I think it is a big sacrifice to go from Trent to another 4 million defender. In second is Diaz to Johnson, who is highly rated this week. In third is Trent and Diaz to Borro and Foden. And of course, Palmer would be the preference over Foden long term, but having Borro over Van den Berg is a nice upgrade. And Diaz to Bowen is last, but I'm actually very tempted by this move. If I were to make a free transfer, I'd rather go for Bowen than Brennan Johnson personally. I could see him getting a few returns against Ipswich and also in the next couple of weeks. Let's also compare the stats of two of the best players in the Premier League, Cole Palmer and Saka. So Palmer has really shot ahead in terms of goal contributions with that 4-goal haul against Brighton. But in terms of stats, it's identical. The exact same number of shots and shots on target. 5 more shots in the box for Saka, who has 14. The XG is in Palmer's favour, who also has over double the number of big chances. Big chance created is even, but Saka takes the lead. He's actually got the most in Europe's top 5 divisions. And key passes, Saka also leads in this metric with 20 chance created compared to Palmer's 17. So creativity-wise, I think Saka is definitely the better option. And we saw that last season. But in terms of goals, I just really can't see Saka getting, maybe not close, but I don't think he'll score as many goals as Palmer this year. They're both on penalties, but Palmer never really shares them anyway. And from open play this season, he's scoring a lot of goals. So yeah, very close one. I think in terms of captaincy debates, generally, I would favour Palmer because of his higher ceiling. He's already got a few Premier League hat-tricks, and Saka is yet to do that. But I think in terms of sheer consistency, of course, both of them are really consistent. But I just think with Saka, he has that sort of ability to always give you something, whether it's a goal or an assist, and it could even be a bonus point during a blank. But I really like both players. Having the two of them in the long term would definitely be ideal. But you've also got the likes of Salah, Ollie Watkins, Erling Haaland and Trent to contend with, so you just can't have them all, unfortunately. Let's now look at my Game Week 8 team very quickly, and this is how it could look like with Raya, Trent, Lewis, Gabriel, Diaz, if I keep him, Mbumo, Saka, Rodgers, Wood, Solanke and Haaland, with Valdimarsson, Semenyo, Mikalenko and Greaves on the bench. Yeah, it's a fairly solid team, but once again, I'm looking for that news in terms of Luis Diaz. And if he is benched, I will be looking to move him to one of the transfer plans I showed you in the poll earlier. Let's have a quick look at FPL Challenge, where I got the same number of points as I did with my normal FPL team, which is never a good sign since it's a 5-man squad, basically. FIFA Street is basically what this game is. So David Raya in goal with Gabriel, Palmer, Salah and Haaland. The challenge is that Asian Pacific players get double the number of points, but I've got none of them in my team. I'm very happy with this setup, with unlimited transfers as well. I'll go back to this later and also go for predictions, but let's go to my FPL squad and also keep our eyes peeled for any updates in regards to Liverpool and Man City, which will be the big talking point, I think, in terms of this deadline stream. So, let's get back to your questions. Smash the like button if you haven't already, and let's try to get this to over 200 by the end and also make big progress towards 30,000 subscribers. Yeah, Mikalenko should be fit. Would you go for him or Van den Berg? I still prefer Mikalenko. My biggest concern with Everton is Branthwaite, so he's the one that's a doubt. So if Branthwaite isn't available, I think Everton's chances of winning a game or getting a clean sheet drop dramatically. Madueke or Hudson-Odoi? I'd favour Madueke in this kind of particular instance, but I don't really like him as an FPL option. Semenyo, Smith-Rowe or Johnson? This week, I'd probably favour Johnson. And probably up until Game Week 11, that'd remain the case. Would you play Wood or Semenyo this game week? Semenyo, which is kind of clear by my team selection. Eze to McNeil, or keep Eze and Jota out for which player? I'd sell Eze. McNeil is absolutely fine. You could also consider Brennan Johnson, who's obviously very popular at the moment. But also, the likes of Semenyo, Rodgers and Smith-Rowe are good options long term. But I think if you're buying one this week, you're right about McNeil. So bench 2, Rodgers, McNeil, Smith-Rowe, Wood, DCL, Jota, Hall. I'd bench Smith-Rowe and Lewis Hall. Can I triple captain Haaland this week? Of course you can. He scored a hat-trick against them last season. If he does that, then you're looking at 17 points, just like he did for Game Week 2 and 3 triple captainers like myself. But I think Game Week 9 against Southampton, if he gets a good number of minutes there, I could see Haaland going ballistic, but by that stage we might have seen a managerial change and maybe Southampton will improve. But I think that's more appealing to me than Fulham at home. Should I sell Eze for Mbumo? Yes, no questions about it. Smith Rowe to Trossard, 1 transfer, or Borro and Smith Rowe to Van der Ven and Mbumo, 2 transfers. I'd go for the 2 transfer option and get Van der Ven and Mbumo. Yeah, Mbumo captain is absolutely fine. I don't think his ceiling is like the highest. It's a bit like Saka, where he can get a goal, a few bonus points, but very rarely will he get a massive return. We're talking about 13 points or over, but I think Mbumo is a solid, dependable captaincy option. I like him. Saka and Calvert-Lewin to Foden and Havertz. I see what you're doing there, but I don't think I'd do it, because Calvert-Lewin has a great record against Newcastle, albeit he is very inconsistent. And with Saka, I think in terms of Southampton's weakest areas, I think Saka could really benefit from it, but it's really close. Like, overall, I think you're right in terms of marking Foden and Havertz as an upgrade in terms of a duo partnership, but I think this week might actually be very awkward in terms of selling Saka and Calvert-Lewin. That's just my 2 cents on it, though. Mateta or Chris Wood? Help a lonely man out. I'd favour Mateta here. Not by much, though. Best 4.6 million defender for Diaz to Palmer. It seems like a lot of people are in a similar position. Yeah, I've only got 4.3 million in this case. You're looking at the likes of Mazraoui and Van der Ven. I think those 2 would probably be your best bets. Start Eze or Delap? Delap. Attack without Haaland, but with Foden, Saka, Salah good enough? Yeah, it's a very good attack. You can't have them all, right? You've also got no Palmer, I'm guessing, but yeah, in terms of captaincy differential, well, Foden will be the differential captain for sure, but even Saka and Salah, I think their effective ownership might be lower than you expect. I personally would captain Saka out of the 3, but his ceiling isn't as high as Salah, and even at times Foden gives you a massive haul, like 20 points, which I believe he did against Brentford last season. Eze, Rodgers, Semenyo, bench 1. I would bench Eze. Finlay says, I'm on wildcard, I only have 100 million budget. How is that even possible? Only 100 million budget. Well, you might have gotten rid of players who you had a lot of value tied up in, but maybe didn't go up enough in price to gain the extra selling value. But I don't know without knowing the context of your team. Saka and Palmer both seem to be overperforming their stats. Yeah, I think early in the season there's always cases of players doing that. So we might see a regression with some of these players for a couple of weeks and then they start hauling again. Welcome, Alex. Thank you very much. Likewise to you. Saka punt for me, filling a game with 6+ goals and Saka to have 4 involvements. I hope you're right. Could easily see Haaland getting 2, but if Foden starts, I think he'll be the haul and limit Haaland's return. Yeah, it's possible, Harrison. It is possible, but with Saka, we haven't seen 4 goal contributions in a match really very often. In fact, I can't remember the last time he's done it. He can get 2 or 3, and there was that period where Arsenal were beating every team 5 or 6-0 back in February, and Saka got a few double-digit hauls in a row. That's the closest we've seen in terms of Saka being a very explosive asset, but in terms of 20+ points, that's something we're yet to see from Saka, but his consistency is his biggest attribute for me. Should I keep Diaz using the wildcard? I probably wouldn't keep him. It's one of my slight regrets, I think. Although if he starts against Palace, I'm happy to keep him for 1 more week at least, but probably not. Should I bring in Palmer, or depends on what you're doing in terms of, are you selling a Trent to another player? Like, what are you doing to bring Palmer in? Who are you selling in the midfield to make that possible? Van der Ven or Van den Berg for Robinson? If you've got a strong defensive line, so no other 4 million defender, I'd go for Van den Berg. So it all depends on the rest of your defenders, really. I'm not a big fan of Van der Ven. I know Spurs have been okay defensively this season, but I don't think that'll be the case. It's just an illness, Cyan. Don't worry. I actually feel much better. It's just my voice. It's literally the last stages of illness. It's absolutely fine. Don't worry. Who is the best 4-point family defender on the wild card? Already have Lewis and Van der Ven. Mikalenko still at 4.3 with Everton's fixtures is probably my favourite. Will Calafiori be the regular starting left-back during the season? A lot depends, of course, on the right-hand side. Will Timber continue to start there? Or will he be shifted on the left with White starting on the right? If you're looking at White's Arsenal career, he's pretty much started every single game he's been available for. And against City, he did have a slight knee injury, and he has been out ever since. So I personally think White will come back in at right back, not necessarily this week, but eventually he will. And I think Timber is above Calafiori in the pecking order. And I also think Calafiori is a bit raw. I do like him. He's got a lot of potential. He's good on the ball, takes up some very interesting positions. But I think positionally he has been caught out a few times in the last couple of games. Who should I replace De Bruyne and Joao Pedro with? De Bruyne with Foden. And Joao Pedro with... Well, Delap is interesting. Of course, Calvert-Lewin, Vardy. Chris Wood is still okay. Raul Jimenez. But if I'm picking one right now... It's probably between Vardy and Delap. I think I'd go for Vardy. Who would you start, Robinson or Mazraoui? Yeah, Mazraoui. United won 2-1 at Villa Park last season. I just don't see Robinson getting returns against City. Maybe an assist, but he might concede 2 or 3, possibly 4. But yeah, I'd probably go for Mazraoui there. On a wildcard, it's good to have Luis Diaz. Like I mentioned earlier, I probably just wouldn't go for him on the wildcard. But for those that aren't playing the chip this week, he might be a hold. It all depends on the news we get in the next hour or so. Differential of the week, Phil Foden, although he might not be much of a differential for longer, but he's definitely the one I'd like to bring in if possible. He could also be one of the catalysts for a revival in my season, because I had a good start in the first 3 game weeks. I was in a good position. Game week 4 was bad, but, you know, it wasn't terrible. But the game week 6 wildcard, of course, was painful. Start Vardy or Chris Wood? Vardy. So all of those transfer plans have been covered earlier in terms of Diaz not starting. As a free transfer, probably Bowen or Brennan Johnson. And if I were to make 2 free transfers and sell Trent, it would be to get Palmer or Foden in the midfield. So those are my options, I think. I was probably going to sell Trent for Davis and Mbeumo for Palmer, but it most likely isn't worth it. It's not ideal, right? Selling a player of Trent's quality... That's what really puts me off. But if Diaz is benched, I am tempted to just make a change regardless. Possibly. I mean, if you're really confident of Foden hauling, then go for it. But don't do it just for the sake of being different. I know sometimes it does work out, but it's not the right decision-making, in my opinion. You always have to go for something you really believe in as being the highest-scoring player. And, of course, you can get it wrong multiple times, but I'd rather have a good decision-making process, than just kind of hope for the best and maybe get a lucky result here and there. I bit the bullet on selling Semenyo, bought in Johnson. Fair enough. I do like Semenyo this week against Leicester, but I think Johnson is probably a little bit better. And if he continues this form, it could really work for you. Welcome to Mantis. 0.1 million shy for Haaland. Do I take a -4? What would this -4 entail, though? Who would you sell for Haaland, and who would you sell in another position to make that possible? Well, good luck, Bacon. It is a very good opposition for Saka. It is maybe last chance saloon for Russell Martin, so maybe he goes out of a bang. Maybe Southampton players, they produce a response. I'm not trying to put you off, by the way, but football's unpredictable, right? Fulham have been good this season, so I don't think it's the worst week to go against Haaland, but I'm personally just favouring the Norwegian robot. Definitely Foden for me over Luis Diaz. Do you think Haaland is limited to score more than 1 goal without De Bruyne and Rodri not playing? Not really. For the first couple of weeks, although De Bruyne was there, Rodri wasn't, and Haaland got 9 goals in 4 games. So it's obviously a big miss, not just for Haaland, but the whole City team. But yeah, it will be a miss, of course. You're right about highlighting that. But I don't think he's limited to score 1. He will get braces and hat-tricks from now until the end of the season, even without those 2. Eze to Johnson for a -4. Not sure about a -4, to be honest. I do like Brennan Johnson as an option, but not for a -4 hit, I think. Really want to use my wild card, but the international break makes me nervous. Yeah, I get that. But if you got free transfers, like 2 or 3, you do have those available to you still by playing the wild card now. So, yeah, it's not ideal, but I think with 2 free transfers, you should be fine. Captain Salah, Saka, Palmer, or Haaland? Haaland for me. Replacement for Smith Rowe this week. McNeil. Newcastle home isn't the best, but I'd like Everton's fixtures until early December in Game Week 14, so yeah, that's probably what I'd go for. So who to start? Probably Chris Wood and Wout Faes. Palmer or Salah for the next couple of game weeks? I'd say Salah. If Diaz is benched, is it worth a hit to get Foden or Palmer? I think so, yeah. Will Rico Lewis start for sure? Not for sure, but I think he does. Will Robertson start? I believe so. Couldn't guarantee you 100%, but that is my opinion. When is the best time to wildcard? It depends on your team. Of course, you say it's similar to wildcard templates apart from 2 or 3 players. Then I think you're good for now. Probably until Game Week 12 or beyond. When Arsenal's fixtures turn again for the better, because they have that tough period between 9 and 11. But every team has a different sort of game week where their fixtures swing. There's no exact formula where every single kind of fixture swings, in a certain way, and it makes it so clear to wildcard. It is a team-dependent question. Foden and Winks will take a -4 from Boomer and Rodgers. Yeah, and Boomer and Rodgers is a better duo. Now, so long as buying Foden doesn't mean you start Winks every single week, I'd go for Foden. I think that's fine. But, yeah, just be careful with that. Hey Dylan, I hope you read this. Salah to Foden and Fraser to Solanke for a -4. Good transfers. I like Foden and Solanke. It's just selling Salah for a hit is always a bit... It doesn't really sit right with me. And I sold him on the wildcard last week. I knew it could have ended in pain, and it did. But, yeah, I think long-term the -4 hit does pay off. I really believe it does with the fixtures in mind. It's just with Salah... I'm a bit uneasy about that, the -4. I'd probably go for it. Just be aware of the consequences or the potential ones you'll get. Like I said before, Singh, it would be Mazraoui or Van der Ven. Do you think I should visit my parents today? Yes, that'd be my answer. DCL or Vardy, says Anthony. Probably Vardy. Not much between them, but I'd probably go in that direction. If you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's try to get this stream to over 200 likes. That would be massively appreciated. And we're also making big progress towards 30k. Check all the other links, such as my Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, the Discord server, FPL League, Drafthound, and Spotify. Follow me on all those platforms as well, and continue the discussion. We have a few spammers, so just going to deal with that very quickly. Oh yeah, one thing I might do to kind of ease things a little bit is go to subscribers only mode. Just yeah, just so we can get through every single question as well. Okay, yeah. Okay, that should be... Okay. Alright, just going to change this now. So hopefully you do understand. But yeah, we'll get through, I'd say, more questions this way anyway. So let's get this show on the road. Subscribers. Alright. Smith Rowe to Mavididi. Yeah, Mavididi's a good shout, actually, as a budget midfielder. Leicester are fairly inconsistent, but I do like that Mavididi pick, actually, yeah. McNeil is my preference, I will admit, but good shout. Calvert-Lewin or Welbeck. I'd go for Calvert-Lewin this week. Good record against Newcastle, 6 goals in 11, but he can be very frustrating, missing big chances, which is always a concern. I'd start Calvert-Lewin over Wood as well. McNeil or Smith Rowe. McNeil. Randy Savage says 1 free transfer, Eze to McNeil, or Jota to Mbumo, or Pedro to Delap. Eze to McNeil looks the best. The thing with Jota is, in future weeks he could be benched, and I do like Mbumo a lot. But I think if Jota starts, I'd keep him for 1 more week. It does mean no Mbumo, which isn't ideal, but probably Eze to McNeil is my favourite. Who to bench out of Eze, Rodgers, and Calvert-Lewin? Probably Eze, but it wouldn't surprise me if this is the week he finally does something. That's kind of the nature of the game. I couldn't tell you for sure, Christian, about Luis Diaz. Which combo should I go for? Trent, Diaz out for Saka, Lewis, or Diaz, DCL out for McNeil and Havertz? Tough one. It's a very tough one, but I would probably go for Saka and Lewis. McNeil and Havertz is very interesting, though, I have to say. Yeah, Diaz to Bowen is a good option. He is one of my potential transfers in. Who should I captain? They're all good options. It's up to you. I'd personally favour Haaland this week. Start 2, Rodgers, Wood, or Calvert-Lewin. I would start Rodgers and Calvert-Lewin. Out of those options, I would probably go for Saka captain. Do you think Foden will get more points than Palmer over the next 5 game weeks if he starts every game? Yes, and that's a good question. No worries, Karimar. Hopefully I haven't butchered your name. Start 2. DCL. I'd definitely start Solanke, and then I'd probably go for Calvert-Lewin. Diaz, Trent to Foden, Gavardio for a -4. No, I wouldn't sell Trent for a -4. If Diaz is out, I see why you're doing it, but not for a -4 hit. McNeil or Johnson? Johnson this week. Who to captain out Salah, Saka, Watkins? Saka. McNeil is better, but for this week against Newcastle, I don't like it. That's understandable. I think with Calvert-Lewin as well, in a lot of the questions I'm getting, I'm recommending Calvert-Lewin to start because of his record against them. But beyond that, I can see why he's benchable. Thank you, FPL Kevy. Good to see you as well. What have I missed? Had Delap last week, who saved my game week. Nice. Hoping for green arrows. Good luck, buddy. Likewise to you. Yeah, Delap did very well. Very impressive performance against Villa. A nice differential budget forward, so I like that. Eze and Trent for Lewis and Foden for -4. Selling Trent for -4 isn't great, but I do like Foden and Lewis, to be fair. There is a slight doubt about Lewis starting in Game Week 7 and 8. He's not going to be nailed on, but over I'd probably do it. Chiesa's a doubt, says Ian. Raya or Sanchez this game week? Raya, 100%. I sold Welbeck to the lap and now I'm biting my finger. Wish I rolled. Yeah, but Brighton's fixtures are pretty poor. I think it's a nice time to get off the Brighton assets, so I don't really blame you there. He came close to scoring against Chelsea, but yeah, Delap has a great run, so it's not the worst transfer. Who would you bench in Game Week 7? DCL, Wood, or Smith Rowe? Smith Rowe. Dutta says no Haaland since Game Week 1. I'm scared today. Have Saka, Palmer, Salah, and Boomer Rogers, Trent Havertz. Good players, though. You can't have them all. There will be the odd week where, you know, not having a certain player will cost you, and that happened for me in Game Week 6 without Palmer and Salah, of course, who I sold in the wild card, and in Game Week 4. What was it? I can't even remember the full context of why I did badly in Game Week 4, but I made a few transfers. I bought in Joao Pedro and Salah, and they just blanked, and they were just terrible. So, yeah, captaining Salah as well over Haaland hurt me that week. So, yeah, sometimes you need a bit of luck as well. Diaz or Mbumo? Mbumo. No worries about that. No concerns. No doubts. I think Mbumo's the better option. I would go for Van den Berg there, Ezra. Hey, Dylan, 8 Nuri or Davis? Davis for me, in terms of who I'd rather have in the long term. That's for sure. In Dye or Delap? I think Delap, but in Dye has been good. You know, even in Game Week 6, he didn't get a goal or assist and got a bonus point. I think he's a tidy little player. I like him. Vardy worries me with only 1.4 XG from 6 games. That's true. You are right to point that out. I think Wout Fass has more shots than him this season, which is crazy. But when Vardy gets the chances, he's got a great chance of hauling. And Leicester's fixtures are turning for the better. But that is definitely a major red flag for Vardy. I understand that. I think Delap, yeah, is probably the one you'd want to go for. Best 4-point family and goalkeeper apart from Flecken. Well, Robert Sanchez is 4.7. Might go up to 4.8 tonight. Difficult one. Not really a big fan of the 4-point family and goalkeepers this season. I think they're all pretty terrible. Areola could work this week against Ipswich, but I think West Ham concede. Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm going to have to come back to you on that one. I don't really trust any of them. Start Diaz or Rogers? Diaz, if he starts, would be my preference, but there is a slight doubt about that. Nice one, Paul. Really good rank and a very good score. Well done. Hi, Dylan. I'm late, but I heard, or might be mistaken, that Diaz is on the bench. Well, a lot of people have that kind of feeling. I'm not sure where you heard it from, but just be very careful about, where you get the news from, because there are a lot of, how do we say this, interaction farming accounts out there. So for the -4, I was talking about Watkins and Trent to Haaland and Gavardio. Yeah, they're both good duos. Watkins and Trent is very solid, but tricky. I don't think Watkins has a great record against United, but the way they're defending, I mean, if Watkins doesn't score in that game, you would be a little bit shocked. I think ultimately, I'd do it. I think long-term it pays off, but it's always risky selling a player like Trent or Watkins, let alone both of them combined for a -4 hit. Eze to Johnson for a -4. It's close. I do like Johnson as a transfer, but yeah, for a -4 hit, I'm not too sure about that. No worries, Tyrone. Wasting, I'll have a look now in terms of your team, but yeah, can't really guarantee you anything because things are a bit hectic at the moment. Start to Rogers, DCL, Bruno. Difficult. I'd go for Rogers and probably Calvert-Lewin here. FPL Kevin says one that if I'll actually be able to save a transfer this week, always also never back in the early kickoff again after Haaland captain last week. Yeah, but there was an example this season. I think it was Salah who, against Ipswich it was, I think, in Gameweek 1, early kickoff, he scored a goal and got an assist. He got a big haul. So, yeah, I don't really buy into this early kickoff curse. It's a bit funny, but yeah. Newcastle away was always a tough game. Lewis clean sheet. I think Fulham get one. But, yeah, City will win comprehensively. Bowen or Mbumo 1 week before wildcard. Close. It's actually close, but I'd go for Mbumo still. Best defender for 4.5. Van de Ven was probably my favourite one. Mikalenko is second. Should I play Duran or Calvert-Lewin? Well, Duran seems to be scoring every single time he gets on the pitch, so it's a remarkable goal-scoring record. I think it will die down eventually. He can't sustain this long-term, but yeah, I think at the moment I'd go for Duran. It's just not my type of FPL pick because he keeps coming off the bench, and yeah, he's scoring, but I don't like having a player with limited minutes. Yeah, Fabio Carvalho, I've been asked about a lot in recent streams. He's got potential. He's been getting a few attacking returns. He did get one in Game Week 5, and I think with more game time, he could become a very good FPL option eventually, but I do prefer others. You know, Rogers, Semenyo, Smith-Rowe, not to mention McNeil. Watkins to Havertz next game week? Not sure about doing it next game week. If you were to make that transfer, it would be now, when he faces Southampton at home, because he'd be buying Havertz for Bournemouth away, where he did score his first Premier League goal for Arsenal from a penalty. Then you've got Liverpool at home, Chelsea and Newcastle away. They're not great fixtures to really buy Havertz into. Trossard, Martinelli or Johnson? Yeah, probably Johnson out of the three. Once again, though, with Johnson, you're kind of buying him maybe towards the end of his run. He has scored in 5 games in a row across all competitions, so that kind of slightly irks me. Thank you very much to Mantis. I appreciate the kind words. A long-time viewer of the channel, so thank you very much. Thoughts on Robertson, Tariqa, Lewis? I like it. I would do it so long as you've got defensive depth, though. Because if you don't, and you've got, like, Van den Berg, who is a bit of a risk himself, maybe you've got, you know, red flag players, or just those, I don't know, players that don't really start or anything like that, that is definitely not what you want to have. Yeah, so Jota apparently starts. Thank you for the updates. Yeah, Jota's... I don't want to talk about him too much. Whenever I have him, he's very underwhelming. Even last season, I bought him for a double game week. He gets an assist in the first 30-40 minutes in a double game week, then gets injured. So I've got a bad experience with Jota, I think. Just not my type of player. Diaz is on the bench this game week. Is it true? We probably won't find out until, well, in the next hour or so. We'll keep our eyes peeled. But yeah, for now, I don't think anything is confirmed with Diaz. Fair enough, Nuclear Arms. Minus 12 seems way too much. I think it is... Look, sometimes massive hits do pay off long term. I won't lie to you. It's also paid off for me in the past when I played very casually. But it's just selling Trent as part of a minus 12. You've already sold Salah, right? Yeah, selling Salah and Trent as part of a minus 12 seems crazy to me. I'm not going to lie. But look, everyone's different. You can play it your way, and it can really work to your benefit. It really can. I will admit, though, the transfers in are really good, so I can understand why you want to do it. Palmer, Solanke, Ruka, Lewis, and Saka. I mean, you know, I've got 3 of them, and I'm looking to possibly buy Palmer as well. So overall, it's not a bad idea. I'm not going to lie. You know, it's not absolutely crazy. My biggest irk, though, my biggest concern is selling Salah and Trent as part of a minus 12. So I'd probably say no. I may be wrong, though. Morning as well, Callum Jr. Haaland, Trossard, Watkins, or Haaland, Saka, Johnson. Unsure whether to get rid of Saka or Watkins to fund Haaland. Both options. Remove Salah. Don't sell Saka this week against Southampton. That is my advice. No, I wouldn't do that. What's stopping you? Stopping me. Well, I mean, it's a great fixture, but you've got Haaland facing Southampton in Game Week 9, and I just think Saka's ceiling isn't... Look, he has got multiple double-digit hauls throughout his career. He can get 1 goal, 1 assist, and give you, you know, 11 to 15 points. That's good, but he doesn't have that, pure explosiveness of scoring a hat-trick or 4 goals like a Palmer, Salah or Haaland. I think that's what Saka lacks. That might be what's stopping you from pulling the trigger. Diaz to Johnson and Dunk to Robertson Gvardiol for a -4. If Diaz doesn't start, yeah, I'd do it. And who would I pick for a -4? Gvardiol. Because Liverpool's fixtures turn for the worse. Hold Jota or transfer to Trossard? Probably hold Jota for now. Dylan bench one of DCL and Rodgers. Probably Rodgers, but maybe I'm overstating Calvert-Lewin's record against Newcastle. It's not always like that where, a player might seem to score in every single game or every 2 games against the club. Doesn't mean he's going to haul in the next one, but I don't know. I think it's a nice kind of dimension and aspect to benching dilemmas and captaincy decisions. Palmer and Van der Ven for Trent and Diaz for a -4. Probably not. Now, if Diaz is benched, probably, yeah, I'd go for it. So we'll wait for that confirmation. Yeah, just a bit uneasy about selling Trent for a hit, but it seems like a lot of people are looking at something similar. Fairly set, not 100% though. There is a small chance I switch to Saka. I don't see myself going for anybody else. I think Mbeumo's decent. But I don't see anybody else really screaming at me from a captaincy perspective. Maybe Gabriel, actually, which seems insane, but yeah, you're relying a lot on a bullet header from a set piece, which is, not out of the realms of possibility, but it's not going to happen every week. If Diaz does get benched, would you rather start DCL and Rodgers and not transfer anyone in, or transfer in Palmer and get a 4.3 million starting defender, or keep Trent and get Johnson in? I'm in a similar boat to you, Dutta. It's the exact same funds if I buy Palmer for Diaz. I need to get a 4.3 million defender or below, sorry. I think if you've got good defensive depth and you've only got, let's say, 1 4 million defender, I'd probably go for Palmer and the cheap defender there. I think that's what I'd recommend. They're all good options, though. I think every single one of them has their merits, and there might be another option that kind of works this week, but it's a long-term process as well. Diaz and Wood to Solanke and Johnson, says Arnav. Yeah, I'd probably do it. I was just thinking now, bench Semenyo, start Rodgers, DCL and Solanke. I see all of them scoring. Yeah, it's possible. I don't think all of them will score, to be honest with you, but they all could, that's for sure. Morning, Twisted Parky. Hey Dylan, I'm on wildcard, so can I go about Mbeumo and have someone like Johnson, Kulusevski and attack Spurs' fixtures? Yeah, you can. Mbeumo's not essential, he's not amazing or, an absolute must-have, but he is a good FPL asset, and he's also a talismanic figure for Brentford. He's on penalties, good for bonus points. That's what I like about him. Decent underlying stats, good fixtures. There's a lot to like there. So that's why I always recommend Mbeumo. He is one of my favourite midfielders right now. Captain Palmer, Haaland, Saka, and Mbeumo. Haaland for me. It's up to you though. So let me just go through Wei Sing's team. I do apologise, but yeah, illness be illness. Where did you send it, Wei Sing? It might have been a few days ago now. Rate My Team is probably the one. Rate My Team channel. Alright, but yeah, in terms of Discord and stuff, yeah, I'm not going to be able to go through everyone's team and stuff like that, but throughout the week I will be able to, but not today. So we'll keep it strictly to the live chat, but yeah, Wei Sing, I think, put it on the 2nd of October, so what to do, wanted to do Trent and Gvardiol, Trent to Gvardiol, probably better next game week, but I don't think starting Robinson against City is a good idea. No, it definitely isn't. If I want to get rid of Robinson, I might change to Lewis, but I don't want to double up on City defence, which I'm planning to get Gvardiol next game week. Initial transfer plan is Robinson and Jota to Lewis and Bone for -4. Yeah, with Jota starting apparently, according to Anfield Insights, I wouldn't sell Jota for a hit as much as I like Bowen, and I really do. And Liverpool Palace could be low scoring. It might be similar to the Anfield game a few months ago, although I highly doubt it. I think there will be, I'd say 2-3 goals in that game. I'd probably keep Jota. I'd still go Robinson to Lewis though, but you also could maybe... Oh, you got Van der Ven, don't you? No, you got Borro, and yeah, I wouldn't double up on Spurs defensively. Mazraoui at 4.6. I know United are terrible defensively, but they've got good fixtures long term. I think that could also be decent. A Leicester defender like James Justin is also not a bad shout, but overall, I'd personally recommend Lewis. Not take a hit, Wei Sing. I think that's probably the best course of action. As much as I like Bowen, I recommended him back in Game Week 4 or 5 in the transfer tips, but hasn't worked out so far, but I still back him in the long term. So, yeah, those are my plans and ideas on your team. Hopefully you got that. Gavardio to Lewis, I'm not sure. I think you just stick with what you have, really. Yeah, no, of course. But I'm talking about the Anfield visit where, yeah, Palace won. I think it was 1-0. But, yeah, back in, in the Crystal Palace home game last year, it was 2-1. I think Palace took the lead and then Liverpool got the win in the end. Keep or sell Smith Rowe? Depends really on the context of your team. I'd bench him this week, definitely. I don't really mind keeping him, though. I don't think Fulham's fixtures are terrible. How to arrange Wood, Mikalenko, Mazraoui on the bench? Probably the way you've done it. Could Jota and Diaz both start? Of course. They've done that many times this season. It looks like Jota is starting, but we haven't had that confirmation with Diaz yet. 8 Nuri for Timber. Not a big fan of 8 Nuri, to be honest. With Club World Cup next year, do you think it will affect how FPL managers with some EPL teams likely to rotate players? Yeah, possibly. It's just more football, isn't it? And more things to think about. But yeah, we'll obviously talk more about that when we get closer to the time. But I think it could have an impact on FPL. But also, I think the Premier League is more important than the Club World Cup. So even with a rotated team, I think the European squads have an advantage in this competition. But of course, it's an expanded format, and there might be a team like Chelsea in it, who want to go and win it because their chance of winning the Premier League might not be anywhere near as high. But maybe by next year, Chelsea will be right up there. So yeah, any news about Timber? I think he's in contention to play. That doesn't mean he's going to start, though, because White is also in contention. Arteta is very difficult to read in press conferences, especially for non-Arsenal fans, but yeah, I think buying Lewis for Timber is a good transfer. Not ideal for a hit, but I think it could work in this case. Sell Salah to Saka is good or not? I think buying Saka is good. Selling Salah is always tricky, as I found out last week. But I'd probably keep Salah if you can, because by 2 or 3 game weeks time, you might not even want Saka that much. You might want to go for Palmer by that stage or Foden. So I'd probably keep Salah. That would be my advice. I think Saka's a slightly better option this week, especially for captaincy, but I think for the next couple, it's quite tight. Hudson-Odoi or Smith Rowe? This week, Hudson-Odoi. I sold Smith Rowe by accident. Well, it's not the worst thing in the world, right? He is facing City away. Rodgers, DCL, Madueke, bench 1. I'd be tempted to say Madueke. I really would, but I'd probably bench DCL here. I doubt if Lewis is starting. Yeah, well, a lot of City fans do think Lewis will start, but I understand why you think that. I've got the same concerns myself. I'm not 100% sure. But let's say we get information before the deadline that Lewis and Diaz are benched. I'm still going to keep Lewis in the 11, I think. Well, actually, no. I'd probably just put Mikalenko in there. But I'd just keep Rico Lewis and I'd sell Diaz. My other transfer comment, or Smith Rowe to Mavididi and bench Diaz for this week. Diaz to Johnson could be good too. Yeah, Smith Rowe to Mavididi is good. But I think overall, Diaz to Johnson would be the best call if the Colombian is benched. Start Rodgers or DCL. I think it's very close, I think, with these ones. I mean, I've been kind of bigging up Calvert-Lewin throughout most of the stream. Maybe not bigging up, but I was recommending him to start in some scenarios because of his record against Newcastle. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I'll probably stick with DCL here. Flecking, Concert, 8 Nuri, and Dibbling for bench boost. Not for me. I think Flecking's good. It's not really feeling the rest of it. I'd say no. Got Dibbling away to Arsenal. You've got Concert home to United. Of course, 8 Nuri away to Brentford. Yeah, I wouldn't bench boost that, but I've seen maybe worse benches on paper give a really big return. So there's always that kind of week where you might have a good feeling about it. You just go for it. If there's no leak for Diaz, then we just play him. Difficult. I think if there's doubt, I'm just going to pull the trigger and sell him. Martinelli and Vardy or McNeil and Solanke. For future, both -4. McNeil and Solanke is the better duo. Start Collins or Wood. I just start Collins, I think. Yeah, I know. I've said that multiple times. That's my biggest problem with Saka. That's why I'm uneasy about selling Salah to Saka. If it was the other way around, and Salah's facing Southampton at home, and Saka has got Crystal Palace away, I'd just say, yeah, sell Saka to Salah. But the other way around is a bit tricky. Smith Rowe or Enzo or Mainu? I'll be honest, don't go for Enzo or Mainu as FPL options. I really wouldn't go there. I do like when people go for their own picks, and Enzo or Mainu might do well in a given game week, but over the course of the season, you're going to find dozens of players better than them in FPL. This week, if I had to pick one, it's probably still Smith Rowe, but ultimately I'd look to improve that midfield. Best Robertson replacement? Not really. I mean, a lot of people bought Rico Lewis in Game Week 6 on the wild card. He blanked. He played really well midweek in the Champions League. There are some concerns about him starting with the 90-minute appearance the other day, but no, you're not too late. Rodgers over Wood? Yeah. Who to start, Colwell or Lewis? Lewis. Should I sell Watkins to Solanke? Not this week, no. I'd probably keep Watkins for a little while longer, unless you're planning to do something with the extra funds. Miles says Trent and Diaz to Rico Lewis, Mikalenko and Palmer. Yeah, I'd go for Rico Lewis personally. As much as I like Trent and Diaz, if he starts, I think Palmer and either defender, but especially Rico Lewis, looks really good. Jar says Smith Rowe to McNeil for -8, or Lewis and Timber for -4 only. Wait, is that Lewis in for Timber or Lewis and Timber in? I wouldn't be buying Timber for a hit this week. There's a chance he doesn't start. And I think long-term there will be rotation there anyway. He was subbed off at half-time against PSG the other night. So, yeah, Lewis is fine. There are, of course, concerns about him starting every single week. That's always going to be a given with City defenders. But, yeah, Smith Rowe to McNeil for a hit. I'd probably do it, actually. I'm not going to lie. And I do like Smith Rowe. Yeah, I'd sell Smith Rowe for McNeil for a hit this week. Yeah, for me, the best captaincy option from those is probably Salah, but I do like Foden a lot as a differential. If you've got a good feeling about him, I think that's a great captaincy option. From those, it'd be Haaland, I've said this all along, Maddison or Brennan Johnson. Jennifer says, should I sell Eze and Joao Pedro for Jackson and 4-point familiar midfielder? No. I think Solanke's a better option than Jackson for the next 4 or 5 game weeks. You could also go for a cheaper striker and then, go for a better midfielder. But it all depends on your structure. You might not want to have 8 attackers and benching dilemmas like I got every single week, so I understand that. Possibly. Havertz against Newcastle, Chelsea and Liverpool last season in the corresponding fixtures didn't score or assist. Of course, he did get a brace against Chelsea, but that was at the Emirates, and I think Chelsea are better now. I probably would, yeah. And you could go to Solanke, possibly even Watkins, but Villa's fixtures do turn very soon as well. Doku, Grealish or Savio or Johnson? Johnson. Who'd you play, Fass or Vandenberg? Vandenberg. Underrated captaincy picks for this week. Foden is definitely up there. I also think... Let's see who else we can think of. I think either Solanke or Kulusevski. I've just got a good feeling about them. Of course, I could be completely wrong about this. Mbumo definitely appeals to me. And Jarrod Bowen. I think those would be my top 5 underrated captaincy options this week. But look, even like an Arsenal attacker, it could be Trossard or Martinelli. If they start, they've got a great chance of hauling. Havertz as well. Those will kind of be my favourite underrated captaincy options. But yeah, it all depends on your opinion or kind of metrics for that. Diaz for Maddison this week. Have Solanke already. Yeah, if Diaz doesn't start, I'd look to sell him. Not too sure about Maddison though. Great underlying numbers. And he did start the season quite well. But I just think FPL-wise, there are better options elsewhere. Even Johnson from Spurs. But it's not bad. If Diaz is benched, I'd go for it. Van der Ven or Leif Davis? Van der Ven. Yeah, I think Van der Ven. Play Wood or Winks? Wood. I would never play Winks, to be honest. Who's the better captaincy option this week? Haaland for me. That's why I've got the armband on him. Not just for jinxing, although I wouldn't mind if he was jinxed. Who should I start? Martinez against, I'm guessing that's United, yeah, or Vandenberg against Wolves. Oh, right, okay, that's Lisandro Martinez. Okay, no, fair enough, fair enough. I'd go for Vandenberg. I don't see United keeping a clean sheet there. Hi Dylan, start one, Colwill or Smith Rowe? Probably Colwill. Although I don't like him as an FPL asset, I really don't. Alright, so thank you to those that have been tuning in from the beginning. Let's keep on smashing the like button, subscribing, and also hitting the notification bell so you never miss a single upload or live stream. Possibly. Martinelli's finishing is a bit erratic and his decision making, but he has performed well recently since the Spurs game for me. Eze to Martinelli or Trossard? I'd favour Martinelli actually. I think Southampton, the last time that Arsenal played Southampton was a 3-3 draw, of course, kind of like the middle of their terrible period where they started losing control of that title race. But Saka and Martinelli got big returns that night. I think they both got a goal and an assist. So I'd go for Martinelli. AK94 says, hey Dylan, Saka and Foden for Salah and Eze with a -4. Overall, I love the transfers in. I don't like selling Salah for a hit. That's my only problem with what you're saying. But overall, I'd probably do it. Just be very careful with selling Salah for a hit. Just be aware that it can backfire massively. Yeah, it's possible. So either Foden or Palmer would come in if I also downgrade Trent. So just to make it clear, by the way, I'll go for it one more time. And by the way, I have gone through different screens early in the stream. So if you want, rewind at any point in the stream and you can see different metrics like the fixture difficulty rating, also predicted points, Drafthound, and what they're recommending for my team. That's a very good resource. But we're going to focus on the poll I put out in terms of my transfer plans, and it's got more votes now. So yeah, with almost 500 votes, 36% recommend Trent and Diaz to Vandenberg and Palmer. In second is Diaz to Johnson, just one free transfer, pure and simple. In third is Trent and Diaz to Borro and Foden. And finally, Diaz to Bowen, only 10% of the vote. At the moment, if I'm making only one free transfer, I'm leaning towards Bowen. And if I am making two transfers and selling Trent, I'd be looking to buy Palmer. But Foden as a differential really appeals to me, I'm not going to lie. And City's fixtures are amazing. So what I could also do is actually buy Foden for now and then use him as a placeholder for Palmer in Game Week 12. So yeah, I just think with Palmer, as good as he is, he's one of the best FPL options, of course. I do think there's a lot of points chasing from last week. He's not going to get 4 goals again every single week. I mean, look, there will be a time this season he probably gets another hat-trick or possibly 4 goals, but that doesn't mean he's going to do it against Forest or against Liverpool, Arsenal, and even the likes of United, who he faces very soon. So just be very careful with points chasing. That is a very big thing in the first few game weeks of the season. But yeah, that's kind of my transfer plans, and I've also kind of highlighted the most likely scenarios, whether I make 1 or 2 free transfers. So let's go back to my FPL team. And apologies for that. And yeah, let's go back to your questions. We've got less than an hour left. The stream has been going quickly. I know some people have mentioned my voice. I know it doesn't sound great, I know, but trust me, I'm fine. And we live to fight another day. Rogers DCO Madueke, bench 1. I did cover this before, Wei-Sing, and I'd actually bench... Who would I bench? It's a difficult one, isn't it? But I think I'd bench Rogers. I think last time I said DCL, but I did get that mixed up. Andrew, thank you very much for the super chat. Hi Dylan, Calvert-Lewin or Mikalenko? I'd start Calvert-Lewin because I think Newcastle will score, and Calvert-Lewin has 6 goals in 11 games against the Tomb. I'd definitely go for Calvert-Lewin here, but he's a very frustrating player because he could miss some big chances. Even the other night, or the other day, should I say, against Crystal Palace, he was so close to getting on the end of things, and he just didn't really work out for him. Yeah, I'm not wildcarding Twisted Parky. I did make a mistake with the title. That's the problem when you do some of these things just before leaving the house. But yeah, I'm not wildcarding this week. I played in 6. It was terrible in terms of the result, but I'm very confident in the long-term hauls. Love your deadline streams. You think Hall will start today? Thank you very much. I think he does, but it's always difficult to predict whether it'll be him or Lewis. Lewis? I don't know, at this point my brain is fine. My brain is fried. I think Hall will start, yeah. I have Robinson on the bench and don't want to waste a transfer for Lewis or Van der Ven. I don't think it's a waste of a transfer, though. Van der Ven against Brighton isn't ideal. I think he'll concede, probably blank, but good fixtures afterwards. And as for Rico Lewis, if he starts, I think he's the best defender at that price and below. Who do you think is the most nailed defender in Man City? Only defenders. Gvardiol. It would be Gvardiol. By the way, just going to correct myself on what I said, because I said Lewis recently. Speaking too much about Rico Lewis. Kelly is the one I was on about instead of Lewis Hall, so apologies for that. Indeed, he's underrated pick for the team. 4 assists as a DM. Yeah, and sometimes he's played a little bit more advanced, actually. So kind of as an 8, box-to-box midfielder. He did get an own goal against Arsenal, which was very unlucky, but yeah, you're right. I have him in my team, only 0.7% own him. Yeah, and that's why, I also admit that sometimes I'm a bit close-minded when it comes to these sorts of picks who, they're DM by trade. You're never really going to think about them, but they can do really well. Look at Declan Rice last season as well. Yeah, I'd sell Diaz from Boomer. I'd do it, even if Diaz starts. Yeah, no worries, Tustapaki. If you refresh the video, by the way, you'll see an updated title, so that's all been fixed. Dylan, what to change? Edison, Lewis, 8 Nuri, Saliba, and Mbumo, Saka, McNeil, Palmer, Haaland, Vardy, Havertz. I think that's pretty good. Not a big fan of the double up in the City defense. I also don't really rate 8 Nuri, but no problems whatsoever with your midfield and forward line. Very solid, by the way. But I'd look to maybe improve your defensive line a little bit. Views about Gordon playing striker. I stand by what I said last time. I don't think that makes him a better FPL asset. He obviously won that penalty against City, which was soft. But I don't really think he plays better down the middle than he would on the left. But compared to the right-hand side, where he has been playing a lot this season, then yeah, it's an improvement. I just don't think he's as effective on the right. And that kind of accommodates Harvey Barnes on the left. But yeah, overall, I think Gordon's best football comes as a left winger, definitely. I'm starting Matoma. Fair enough. Matoma's actually got one of the most penalty error touches this season. This may seem a bit knee-jerk, X, but Salah and Jota to Palmer or Saka for a -4. If I'm buying one this week, I'm going to say Saka over Palmer, but I think long-term, like from now until the end of the season, I think Palmer is the one you'd rather have than Saka. I think Palmer will score more FPL points. Also, Eze to Maddison. Yeah, I probably would sell Eze to Maddison, although he isn't my favourite pick. I think Maddison's still a decent option. Saka or Palmer? Saka this week. I think long-term, because I think my plan is probably to buy a placeholder for Palmer, so it could be Foden in this week. Then I'll buy Palmer in Game Week 12-ish, something like that. But yeah, Saka this week is my favourite. Robinson to Lewis is good option on a -4. Yeah, still good to me. There is a slight chance it really backfires if Lewis doesn't start. But overall, whenever he does, he's going to get returns for you. Jackson for captain? Not for me, but he's not a bad choice. Might be in the top 10, might be in the top 20 on paper. But yeah, look, if you've got a good feeling about him, go for it. Don't let me discourage you. Yeah, I think Foden will play. Will Sharda start? Good question. It's always difficult with Sharda, right? I think yes, but I couldn't tell you for sure. And I haven't, before I did predicted lineups and I did a lot of research, for every single team, for every single game week. I haven't done that for this week, of course, and last week. So yeah, I'm less sure about that than I would have been if I did that research with the predicted lineups. But yeah, with Sharda, do I think we'll start? I'm going to go for yes, but I'm not convinced. Van der Ven or Mazraoui, who is better in assists? Mazraoui still. I know Van der Ven's got 2 assists this season, both of them from those solo runs he does, but no, not for me. I think that won't happen very often. I wouldn't go for Keane. He's not going to play very often. When Branthwaite is available, or whenever he's available, Keane is going to drop to the bench, but it all depends this week. If Branthwaite is out, then yeah, you'll see Keane start. Although I don't know what they're doing with their new signing, Jake O'Brien, because I think he deserves more minutes. I don't think many Everton fans want to see Keane start. But yeah, with Branthwaite, it's a thigh injury. I don't know, the latest update about him from Sean Dyche, yeah, I don't really think much was really being said. But yeah, it's not looking good at the moment. but hopefully he is back. Who to start, Colwell or Lewis? Lewis. Start Vardy, Rodgers, or Mikalenko. Vardy. Not a big fan of his numbers, though. Well, Chelsea can win against Forest, but I think it's not a guarantee that they will. It was a 1-0 victory for Forest last season at Stamford Bridge. Not nailed on, no. The only nailed on players for Arsenal, so to speak, would be Saka, Gabriel, Saliba, Declan Rice, and Raya. I think everyone else is, well, and Odegaard, of course, when he's fit. Everyone else is, to a certain extent, kind of changeable. You could actually say Havertz as well, actually, to be fair. A lot of Arsenal players are quite locked in, but Timber isn't one of them for me. I don't think so. Heidelin bench one, Rodgers, Lewis, Borro, and McNeil. Is tough. In this case, I think I would bench... That's very difficult. I'm actually going to bench Borro here. He got an assist at the Amex last season in a 4-2 loss, but I'd bench Borro. I was actually thinking first between McNeil and Rodgers, but I'm actually going to say Borro. Best forming defenders, Vandenberg, Greaves would be my two favourites, I think. Best defenders around 4.5 to 5 million. Rico Lewis, Mizraoui, Van der Ven. I think that's my top three. Dylan, your opinion on Havertz as this game week captain? I like that a lot. I really do. I could see him getting a goal and assist or 2 goals. It's a disadvantage as a forward. You know, he needs to do more than a Salah to kind of outscore him, so to speak. But yeah, I do like Havertz a lot as a captain. This could be his first, you know, Arsenal hat-trick. It really could. Would you buy Barnes for week 7 and 8? I can think of worse transfers, but if I'm being honest, at a similar price, I'd rather go for Johnson. I also think Newcastle haven't been the same offensively so far this season. Rodgers over Smith-Rowe this week, definitely. I mean, Man United at home or City away, you know what I'm going to say. Salah via Anfield Insight, but there is news that Salah hasn't arrived yet. I appreciate the updates. Hopefully we get one on Diaz soon. I might just pull the trigger anyway. Emery will save Ten Hag for the remaining 19 teams. It's possible, and Emery's that type of manager. He can draw to Ipswich and then beat Bayern Munich and then lose to United. I mean, that's definitely possible. Gundogan starts. Difficult one. He did play well midweek, scored the opening goal, but very poor against Newcastle with the final ball, the decision-making. Against Fulham, I think he does. But it's always tricky with the C midfielders. Even with De Bruyne out, you could see Kovacic with Lewis as the two kind of holding midfielders with Foden. You know, Bernardo Silva, you got also the wingers like Doku and Savia. So, yeah, it's not a guarantee with Gundogan. For this week, Eze or Rodgers? Rodgers. Yeah, I've been asked this a lot in the last couple of weeks. I'm not even going to say it because it seems like it's been a jinx. I'm quite superstitious. Hey, Dylan, play Eze or Smith-Rowe? I've got Trent versus Eze. I'd still play Eze personally, but not a big fan of either player this week. Eze or Rodgers? Definitely Rodgers. Start any one, DCL, Rodgers, and Wood. Just one. In that case, I would go for DCL. I'd rank it in that order you've mentioned it, so Rodgers over Chris Wood as well. Start Colwell or Lewis? Lewis, I believe I've answered that. Which two to start from the following, says Jakub, Semenyo, Lewis, Savio, and DCL. Lewis and Semenyo. I still like Calvert-Lewin though against Newcastle. 6 goals in 11 games, just putting out there. Martinelli over Trossard for me this week. On wildcard, choose 2 from the best, Johnson, McNeil, Rodgers, Smith-Rowe. It would be McNeil and Johnson. Smith-Rowe to McNeil for a -4 and then bench fast for McNeil, or do I start fast and ignore the McNeil move? But would you start... Oh yeah, you start fast. Yeah, I'd start fast and ignore McNeil for now, but you could buy him in game week 8. So Curtis Jones starts. We're getting a lot of updates, but not about bloody DS. That's what I want to see. I appreciate that. Yeah, so hopefully Anfield Insight and all these reliable sources, which I believe they are, will give us something on Diaz. They're probably saving until the end. I just hope it's before the deadline. Is Delight the cheap Gabriel? No chance. I mean, from a set-piece threat point of view, every game I watch United, he's on the end of a chance. He's getting into good positions. He's got a bullet header on him. But no, I think there's only one Gabriel, and he won't score as many as the Brazilian. But Yeah, he might be a yeah, it might be like a B-Tech version or something, which sounds disrespectful to be honest. Let me move on. Are you going to buy Palmer? Possibly. If Diaz is confirmed to be benched, that is one of my possible transfers, but it also requires selling Trent. Oh, sounds like I'm crying. It would require selling Trent to a 4-point Premier defender, which is not ideal. Mavididi or Wood? Mavididi this week. Any differentials? I mentioned plenty earlier. So Foden, even with captaincy, captaining an Arsenal player like Havertz, Martinelli, I think would be pretty good. Even Trossard, Mavididi, who has been mentioned a lot in this stream. Yeah, there's been plenty. So DCL over Wood, definitely. Bailey replacements, 2.3 million in the bank. Oof. I mean, apart from Mbumo, who for me is a great option, Brennan Johnson would spring to mind. Start two of Rodgers, Eze, and Wood. Rodgers and probably Chris Wood. Very close, though. Yeah, Salah, Curtis Jones starts. Thank you for the updates, but still waiting for DS. So DC over Wood, yep. Mavididi or Wood? Mavididi, just covered. Captain Salah or Palmer? I'd captain Salah over Palmer this week. So just to reiterate, my favourite option for the captaincy in Game Week 7 would be Haaland, Saka second, Salah third, and Palmer fourth. I'd also be tempted to say Havertz is fifth. Start Rodgers or Semenyo? Semenyo. My forward coming in this week is Vardy and Delap. Nice. Really good. Vardy has great fixtures, poor underlying numbers, but you could see that improving. What to do with Savio? Is he worth the starting risk? Keep or sell? I'd probably sell. The fixtures are great, but he's going to be benched from time to time. I'd rather go for a more secure option. That's the way I see it, but there will be times where, like Doku last season, he was kind of in and out of the team, got that massive haul against Bournemouth, and you'd be a bit gutted if you sold Savio or any City attacker, just when they're given that big haul, which they're capable of. McNeil or Rodgers? This week I'd go for Rodgers, actually, but it's close, very close. I'm unsure that Mikalenko's injured, actually. I don't think he is. I've seen a lot of questions about that today, but I think Mikalenko is fine. Where'd you get Liverpool news from? People have been saying in the live chat. I haven't had time really to check myself, but Anfield Insight is one of the pages on Twitter. No information on DS so far, but we'll probably get it soon. If Duran starts, will it make Rodgers worse? Possibly, but I think Rodgers still, he will continue to start, but probably as a left mid to replace the injured McGinn. So, yeah, I think, then you'll see Duran and Watkins up together. But I think the way it's going right now, why change a broken formula? Duran might not be to the same level if he starts the game. Who would you start, Robinson or Kilman this week? Probably Kilman. Jackson out for Solanke. Yeah, but maybe wait another week for that move. I mean, Forest are good defensively. Yeah, I think that's a good transfer eventually. It's just, it depends on how you see Game Week 7 panning out for both Spurs and Chelsea. Rank these from the bench: Rodgers, Greaves, Aina. I'd probably put Aina above Greaves, but not really much separating them. Yeah, pick one on the wild card. McNeil. I just saw a vision of Salah celebration. #Raven. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even want to say some of the dreams I had last week because I actually had, there was a bit of FPL consequences about them. Yeah, so hopefully you're wrong there. Yeah, that would definitely sting because Salah, I had him for 2 weeks. I know it's a very small sample size, but he was terrible for me. City defensive double up thoughts. I wouldn't go there if possible. I'd rather double up on the attack with Foden and Haaland. And the only defence I'd really back to keep clean sheets consistently would be Arsenal, just like last season. Hey Dylan, should I downgrade Mikalenko to Harwood Bellis to have enough money for Raul to Vardy? I probably wouldn't. Raul Jimenez is in great form. You can bench him this week, then start him against Villa and the other matches coming up. But yeah, Mikalenko to Harwood Bellis, I mean, it's not really a big deal, but I probably wouldn't do it. 4-point Premier defenders or below. I think Mikalenko is the best. Then you're looking at Vandenberg and Greaves. That's my top three. I could have all of them in my squad, by the way, if I buy Palmer, which I don't. It's not ideal. Let's put it that way. Well, yeah, it would be ideal to see a Foden and Lewis start, but there's no guarantee we'll get, all of the player confirmations before the deadline, so. Best striker under 6.4 million. I'm going to say Delap right now. I like the fixtures as well. Why Valdimarsson? He's just a backup goalkeeper. I probably should have gone for Fabianski, but does it really make a difference? I don't think so. Mazraoui to Van de Ven, swap, yes or no? No. No. I don't think Spurs keep a clean sheet against Brighton anyway. United have great fixtures afterwards. If they change manager, we could see a managerial bounce and a few clean sheets. So I'd keep Mazraoui for now. Start Alisson or Flecken? Alisson. Vardy, Wood, Brennan Johnson, or Rodgers? How many am I picking? Am I benching one? If that's the case, I'd bench Chris Wood. Mazraoui, Greaves, or Mikalenko? To start this week, not great, but probably Mikalenko. DCL or Vardy on the wildcard? Probably Vardy. Hey Dylan, should I downgrade Mikalenko to Arbelis? Sorry, I covered that. Is Kudus a good shout? He hasn't been great this season, but he's alright. I think he's decent. I think he will come good eventually. Ipswich at home, nice opportunity to be fair. I could see Kudus and Bowen. One of them has to do something, surely, this weekend. I'd probably do it. Start 2 of Calvert-Lewin, Lewis, Eze, Rodgers. I would start Lewis and Calvert-Lewin. Yeah, Twisted Parky, you don't have to do that. I do appreciate it, but all the links are in the description. I think the one you said that wasn't working is now, but you don't have to, so don't worry about it. Yeah, Diogo, I've experienced that before. I'm doing really well in UCL Fantasy and not so much in FPL, but this week has been terrible for me. Even in UCL I had a poor performance, but we'll bounce back. I've heard Salah hasn't arrived with the rest of the squad at Liverpool. Yeah, he was supposedly going to start. I'd be a bit fortunate there in that case. And I had the bad luck against Wolves with the penalty. But yeah, if Salah were to miss out, which I don't think he will still, but if he did, that would be more than welcome for me, personally. Yeah, Jota apparently starts according to Anfield Insights. Of course, always take these leaks with a pinch of salt because even the most reliable ones can get it wrong. Yeah, look, I think with the lab, they probably don't want him to be recommended, right? Stay as a differential. But yeah, it's a good pick, and I'm glad he's doing well for you. Start Rodgers or Delap? It's close, but I'd probably favour Rodgers here. I just think with the way United play, I could see Rodgers getting a lot of joy. Now, will it be like the Arsenal game where Rodgers runs the show for Villa but doesn't get any attacking returns? Possibly, but he's not up against an Arsenal defence. It's Man United. Should I just get Palmer in Gameweek 11? I think the best time to buy him is, yeah, around that time, 11 or 12. I don't think you need to buy him in right now. Possibly Wei-Seng. Once again, obviously, we did go through your team earlier. I can't remember off the top of my head, so I'm going to have another look very quickly. I probably would look to wildcard soon, yeah, because I don't like Madueke, if I'm being completely honest. Your midfield is actually quite good, but I think Jota's also a sell. Your front line is obviously very good, and I don't think that needs much changing. Although with the fixture swings, you could sell Watkins to Solanke or something like that. And I think with your defensive line, you could make 2-3 changes very easily. Nedeljkovic, Barco obviously sells. Robinson as well could be improved, and a goalkeeper. So, yeah, I think you could wildcard fairly soon, Wei-Seng. It could be in Gameweek 8 during the international break. ESR, DCL, Welbeck, bench who? I would look to bench Smith Rowe, mate. I have a Bruggen as my goalkeeper, and Gabriel Canate. Should I play Dunk or Robinson? I'd still play Dunk, although I'm not a big fan of a defensive double up against Tottenham, especially with Brian's high line. If you can, I'd look to make a defender transfer. So that could be Dunk out. You bench Robinson this week, and you get a better option. FPL Villain said Rodgers will drift centrally anyway if starts wide and 67% of his returns came from that position. Yeah, it's possible. I appreciate the update as well. I didn't see that actually. FPL Tony hinting that Rico is benched but not confirmed. Have a look myself. I also appreciate it. Yeah, once again, him getting 9 minutes in midweek is just far from ideal. I didn't even have him in UCL Fantasy, so that was a bit painful. But yeah, wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't start today, which is a shame. A lot of City fans want to see him start, but it is Pep Guardiola. Where did you see the Rico Lewis stuff, by the way? Because I'm on his page and I don't see anything, but maybe he's said it somewhere else. Yeah. Not saying that you're wrong, by the way. We have the same team, just Vardy for Solanke and Vandenberg. Should I start him or not? If yes, for who? Vandenberg, yeah. Who should I start him over? Well, I wouldn't start him over Trent or Gabriel, but if Lewis is benched and we get the confirmation before the deadline, then I would swap Vandenberg with Rico Lewis. McNeil or Delap? I'd go for Delap this week, actually. Yeah, it's very close, though. So the guy who said Salah hasn't arrived yet replied that Diaz starts. I'm going to have to check this guy out. I appreciate the update once again, but yeah, we're going to get conflicting reports, aren't we? Let's have a look. Orp. What is this bloody name? Let me see if I can copy and paste it. I don't think I've heard of this source before, but let's see. The hell? If you've got a link to his page, that'd be greatly appreciated, because I can't find his bloody name. I think that's his Twitter name, but not the username, so it's making it difficult to find him. So yeah, I haven't been able to verify the piece of news that's coming in, apparently. Mr. Parky saying Diaz is benched. Where did you see that? Let me know. Alright, thank you, Mosin, as well. Yeah, okay, so it seems like some people are mentioning Diaz benched. Alright, I'm going to put a poll out. Lewis could be benched as well, by the way, but I think I'm going to just start him anyway, just in case, but yeah, not looking good. Alright, so let's put a poll out, and I'm going to lock in my team fairly soon. Yeah, Diaz is not starting. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm not sure about the other source, the Lord, whatever that was. Yeah, I don't even know what his page is. Will Lewis start? Not entirely sure, to be honest. I've been kind of uncertain all week after seeing him play 90 against Bratislava in the Champions League. All right, so which transfer do you prefer, with rumours of Luis Diaz being benched? Okay, gonna put the options now. So Diaz to Bowen, and of course I did put this on my YouTube channel, yeah, on the community tab. But now you got the full context of my squad with this poll. I have put a captaincy option or captaincy poll already, so be sure to check that out and vote as well. So yeah, Diaz to Johnson. Let's also do the Trent transfer. So Diaz and Trent. To Johnson and Johnson. Bloody hell. This will be Foden and Palmer. Oh, Foden and Palmer. And finally, this will be Palmer and Vandenberg. I can't even have enough characters, do I? Or just about. Alright, so those are my options this week. It looks like Diaz is benched, so I will be pulling the trigger on him. So via Red Memorable. What are these names? So Alisson, Trent, Kanate, Virgil, Robertson, Gravenberch, McAllister, Jones, Salah, Gakpo, Jota. Yeah. I see. Alright, I appreciate it. Not surprised, I've pretty much burned Diaz since buying him, but when I didn't have him, he was amazing. It's part and parcel of the game, isn't it? So yeah, we're going to see this rotation with all Liverpool attackers bar Salah this season. Yeah, I still like Foden. I like Foden a lot. I'm actually tempted to buy him and then get Palmer for Foden or Saka later in the season. So yeah, Gakpo starts and Diaz benched according to Red Memorabilia. Thank you very much. Is Vandenberg the best Formula defender? I think so. There's a slight chance he's benched in one of the upcoming game weeks, but I think so. He said Salah hasn't arrived at Anfield. They're playing at Selhurst Park. Yeah, that's true. I probably didn't really think about the message. You know, yeah. I can't even remember if Anfield was even stated. Start 1, Smith Rowe, McAllister, Manise. I would probably go for McAllister. Don't really like those options though. He'll score from the bench. I mean, I can't remember the last time he scored from the bench. He probably has done. I just can't remember the last time he's done it. I think Jota's the best Liverpool attacker coming off the bench anyway, but Madueke to Savio and do Trent to Gvardiol next week. No, I wouldn't go to Savio personally. If you were to go for a C attacker, I'd recommend Foden. Yeah, Gvardiol, it seems you're quite set on, which is fair. So yeah, thank you very much to everyone. I am aware that Diaz, it looks like he's not starting. So yeah, it's time to make our play. Yeah, I think Foden will start. I think he's a good option for the next couple of weeks. There might be the odd benching, but if he can start consistently, I really like him. Yeah, looks like Diaz is benched. Start 1, Aina, Vardy, or Smith Rowe. Probably Vardy. Calvert-Lewin, Vardy, or Cunha. Vardy. Once again, though, Calvert-Lewin, good record against Newcastle. Pep is a manager that likes to rotate players except Haaland, depending on the team they face. Yeah, I mean, we all know about Pep Roulette. Instead of Raul to Vardy, is Raul to Delap worth it? Yeah. But once again, with Raul Jimenez, he is in great form. It wouldn't surprise me if he scored against City. I don't think he will, but in that sort of form, it's difficult to sell a player. But I think Delap is good. It's a good option for sure. So at the moment, very close, but it seems a lot of you are kind of, well, it's a very close call actually between the Diaz to Johnson move and then making 2 free transfers and buying either Foden or Palmer. Yeah, I think selling Trent probably puts some people off. Once again, the Bowen transfer is just not really popular, but understandable given West Ham's form. Getting Foden in for Palmer, probably not. I'd stick with what you have there. Now, if you don't have either, and you're looking to buy one, I think getting Foden is fine, and then you can sell him to Palmer in Game Week 11 or 12, but I would not be selling Palmer. Start DCL or Wood. I would start Calvert-Lewin. Diaz to Johnson or Kulusevski? Johnson. Triple captain Palmer or Haaland? It'd be Haaland this week, but I prefer Game Week 9 against Southampton at home. Play Dalot or Konsa? Konsa. Aina over Lewis. If Lewis is benched, then yeah, but I'm not entirely sure about the Lewis stuff. So, yeah. I'm going to have a look myself, by the way. If you've got any links to the Rico Lewis rumours and stuff, let me know so I can have a quick look. But, yeah, not entirely sure about Rico Lewis this week. As far as I'm aware, there's no reliable source that indicates that Lewis is benched. It doesn't mean he won't be, because he still could, but yeah, he's been in great form. It'd be, or at least he played very well midweek. It'd be a bit unlucky. Thank you, Chris, for the super chat. Massively appreciated. Play Smith Rowe or move Joao Pedro to Vardy or Delap. I'd personally move Joao Pedro to, I'd say Delap right now, but Vardy is still a very good option. But yeah, I'd sell Joao Pedro and bench Smith Rowe here. I wouldn't want to play him against City. It's close though, you know, sometimes rolling the transfer and playing someone like Gordon against City at home last week, you know, that can pay off, and the same applies to Smith Rowe here. But I'd probably go to Delap. Vardy's not a bad shout though. If you're feeling him, definitely, you know, you can still go for him, despite the poor underlying numbers. What's up with Foden's form though? Well, he just hasn't started in the Premier League, right? He started in the Champions League and did very well. So, yeah, I think the minutes is a big factor. I mean, would you consider getting Foden instead of Palmer as your DS replacement? Yeah, and that's why it's one of the poll options. I said this all stream long. Foden is a possible choice for me. Palmer, Salah, and Greaves, or Palmer, Foden, and Trent? Well, as a trio, I think Palmer, Foden, and Trent is the better one. Vardy or Delap? Yeah, Delap just about for me at the moment, but it's very close. I think if Vardy had better underlying stats, I'd recommend him, but yeah, he needs an improvement there. Start 1, Rodgers or Vardy? Vardy. Apparently Diaz is benched, Adil. Diaz is benched, Jota and Salah start. That is what we're getting. Who would you start, Aina, Robinson, or Raul? Out of those three? Probably Aina, but you know what? I wouldn't I wouldn't mind starting Jimenez, but it's not the worst thing you could do. Barnes, Gordon, Foden, or Kudus, choose one. Foden. Definitely Foden. Diaz and Trent and Gavardi Foden for a -4. Probably. I just don't like selling Trent or Salah in other cases that people have mentioned, for a -4 hit. Best Formula defender, covered already. It is Van den Berg with Greaves second. Delap and Greaves or Vardy with Harwood Bellis. I would go for Delap and Greaves, but not really much in it. So -12 DCL and Diaz out for McNeil and Havertz. Keep Trent. Yeah, I'd do it. I think that looks really good. Nuclear Amps, even for a -12. Solanke or Jackson? Solanke. I think Foden starts. I couldn't guarantee you, but I think he will. It would be illogical, in my opinion, if Foden didn't start, but Pep has his reasons, and they can still beat Fulham without him. Johnson or Trossard? I think Johnson long-term. Start one, Eze or Delap? Delap. DCL, Rogers, Welbeck. Bench who? I would probably bench Welbeck, but Tottenham is still a good fixture, I think, for the Brighton attackers. Johnson or McNeil? Johnson this week. Baller 11, that question has been answered, mate. Don't spam. Watkins for Havertz and Vardy for Delap for a -4. Selling Delap for Vardy, is it? Either way, I wouldn't take a hit for that second move. I just think Watkins for Havertz is fine as a free transfer. Captain Salah or Saka? Saka this week. Watkins or Solanke? This week, I'd probably favour Solanke a little bit more. Bruno to Foden or not? Yes. Bench Vardy, Semenyo or Rogers? Thanks. Close one. I'd probably bench Rogers, unfortunately. Pickford or Verbruggen this week? Oof. Probably Pickford. Not really backing either for a clean sheet, though. But football's a funny game. DCL or Wood? I'd go for Calvert-Lewin. Keeping Diaz, he'll come on and definitely has a chance to score. Possibly, but then it's Chelsea and Arsenal. He could do well against Chelsea, and look, he's scored a few goals, I think. He's got a goal at the Emirates in the FA Cup in January, but yeah, I'm quite tempted to sell him. It looks like I may have to go without Haaland from now until Gameweek 12. FPL can be like that sometimes, isn't it? But doesn't mean you're doomed. But it will be tough, in my opinion. Lewis or DCL? Great content as always, mate. Thank you very much. There are some concerns about Lewis starting, so that's worth bearing in mind. I'd probably go for Calvert-Lewin. Good record against Newcastle. Thank you very much, John, for the super chat. Massively appreciated as well. Good luck this week, Dylan. Keep up the good work. Likewise to you. If you've got any questions before the deadline, let me know, and I'll answer. You don't need to send another super chat. Let's see what else we've got. Any leaks there, Dylan or chat? So apparently Diaz is benched. That was in another stream. So yeah, of course, there's always a chance that the leaks are not true. It looks like Diaz is benched, so I am looking to make a late transfer. Jesus, I'm not even going to have time to fix my family member's team as well. But yeah, if we look at this, Van den Berg and Palmer for Trent and Diaz is a possibility for me. And as for, well, I did end the poll, didn't I? What are the results? If I can get the results of the poll. Well, oh no, it's still going on. So 38% recommend Diaz to Johnson as a free transfer, and that's it. In second is Diaz and Trent to Palmer and Van den Berg. And then, yeah, Diaz and Trent to Foden and Borderell is third. And of course, Bowen is last with just 12% of the vote. So similar to the poll I put out earlier on my YouTube channel, I've got a decision to make now in the next couple of minutes in terms of selling Diaz. Apparently he is benched, of course, as mentioned. So let's see. No worries, El Padrino. Martinez or Flecken? Flecken. Solanke or Johnson? I prefer Solanke longer term, so that would be my answer. I think Johnson will eventually start blanking. I think his run will come to an end soon. Yeah, no City news today, I think, but yeah, hopefully Lewis starts. I'd be very happy with that. So, this is my problem with selling Trent and going for a Van den Berg, because I've got Lewis, who's a rotation, risk. Van den Berg isn't the most nailed on. Greaves isn't a great choice, and Mikalenko, of course, good fixtures, but Newcastle home isn't the best. So, yeah, I think my defensive line will be very weak here. So using both free transfers to buy Palmer, of course, it looks amazing, or a Foden. But yeah, buying Foden would allow me to buy a better defender than Van den Berg, who looks all right this week. Good fixtures for Brentford, but I just don't like, having a rotation risk or 2 rotation risks here. And then Greaves away to West Ham. But yeah, let me know in the live chat, would you buy Palmer and Van den Berg? Just say yes or no. I'm very tempted to do it, to be honest, and just have Palmer set and forget for the rest of the season, pretty much. I mean, probably a mistake for me not to really go for Palmer or consider him much on the wild card. I probably should have. But look, the fixtures are turning for Chelsea, but in any given game, I think Palmer can still do well. Start Aina or Fass? Fass. Diaz to Mbuma -4? Yeah. John says, in hospital at the moment after a hip replacement, FPL quality distraction. Get well very soon, John. Hopefully you do recover. That's terrible to hear, but I'm sure in time you will get much better. And I'm glad that FPL is providing some solace for you and that you're doing much better than I am. So I wish you all the best of luck for Gameweek 7 and, of course, with your recovery. Madison or Johnson? I would go for Johnson. A lot of people saying yes. Of course, a few no's in there. That's fair enough. Eventually, I will improve my defensive line again, it's worth saying. And Trent could definitely, it could backfire this week. But Liverpool's fixtures aren't great as well, overall. So yeah, I'm just going to pull the trigger, I think. It is what it is. Start 1, McNeil or Rodgers? I would go for... This week I go for Rodgers, but I'd rather buy McNeil on a wild card because Everton's fixtures are better for the next couple. Yeah, I'm also very tempted by Foden. I won't lie to you. I do like him a lot against Fulham. But there's also the coverage, right? I've got 2 City already. And I just think with Palmer, there's no concerns about benchings whatsoever. Chelsea have 1 team for the Premier League, and then they've got 1 for the Europa Conference League. So yeah, I'm going to answer this question quickly and then make my transfers. So tempted to keep Trent instead of getting rid of DCL and the benching dilemma with Rodgers and get Foden in for Diaz. Thoughts? Yeah, I like that a lot. And ideally, I'd also keep Trent as well. But in order to buy a Foden or Palmer, I need to do that. But I think what you say, instead get rid of DCL, that's absolutely fine. I'd much rather get rid of DCL than Trent. I think you're on the right track there. I'd do it. I honestly would. I don't really see much. Dilemma with Rodgers. I don't mind starting Rodgers this week, though, if that's your concern, Aranya. I still like that a lot. Thank you very much for the super chat. Let me know the other aspects, but I think that is all looking good to go. William Pritchard says, no. Fair enough, fair enough. I mean, look, at this point, it is what it is. So yeah, people are being locked in. That's good. I'm not locked in just yet, but I'm just doing it. You know what? I'm sick and tired of this. I'm just doing it. I'm gonna get Palmer and Van den Berg for Trent and Diaz. I think I'm doing it, but if not, it's just a free transfer. You know what? To be honest, I'm literally just in 2 minds about it. Haaland or Saka captain? Haaland for me. I've said this all week. I've said it all week. Start Wood ahead of Diaz. I could do that, but Diaz would be a sell for me anyway. He would be eventually for Foden or Palmer. So I think I'm just gonna do it. To be honest with you. Football is a funny game. This will probably backfire. I honestly don't care at this point. Let's just buy Palmer in. Bye-bye. Whatever. He's not my captain, though. No, I'm not going to captain him. So yeah, Saka my vice. That remains the same. Van den Berg is in my team with Lewis. My defense line could take a big hit this week, but overall, it is what it is. I've done it. I've bought Palmer. Whatever. Bye-bye. Let's go into your questions again. Yeah. So no Lewis news at the moment. Let's also go into your questions, see if we can answer any more. Yeah, it's all locked in. It's all locked in. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of selling Trent. I've said this, especially for Van den Berg with my other defensive, question marks. Mikolenko and Greaves are okay, but not when you've got Van den Berg as well in your setup. I think what my plan will be in a couple of weeks' time, it will be to upgrade Greaves to a better defender. It could be Mezraoui if United's fortunes turn for the better. I could go to Pedro Porro as well. But yeah, eventually Greaves I think will be upgraded. And to make that possible, I might even downgrade a Chris Wood, to a 4-point family and forward. Or I will downgrade somebody else. It could even be Saka. You know, Saka could then eventually become somebody else, but I think overall I'm quite happy with this team for this week. So we'll see what happens. Not expecting great things, but it is what it is. Decided to roll my transfer tab free after the international break. That's good. I was also looking to do the same thing myself. But yeah, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. I just took a late gamble, and we'll see what it is. So yeah, it's all done. It seems like a lot of you were nervous I wasn't going to get it through. Yeah. If Diaz was starting, I was going to keep him and keep Trent. Locked in, I might regret, of course, Trent, Diaz to Foden, Gvardiol. Yeah, I don't like selling Trent. I don't this week, but I think Palace could score, and I also think Chelsea and Arsenal aren't great fixtures. Even beyond that, Liverpool don't have a great run. Trent is still a good option to have, but yeah, I'd rather have Palmer and just get rid of Diaz. Sorry I missed, is Lewis starting? No confirmation about Lewis, but apparently Diaz is benched. Now, if in the end it turns out that Diaz is starting, then yeah, I'm just going to hide behind my sofa. Not trust, those leaks again. Done and dusted? Yes, we are. Good luck, everyone. Like and sub. As Chad says, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's get this stream to as many likes as possible, and let's also keep on pushing towards 30,000 subscribers. Also check all the other links in the description, like my Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, my Patreon, patreon.com/DylanRCM, the Discord server, FPL League, and Drafthound. Who to captain this week? Well, we are locked in now, but Haaland has been my recommendation throughout. Ball move, Dylan. Hope it pays off. I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, my defense looks weak. I, of course, certainly admit that. And, of course, having Raya in there is good long-term, but it also does eat up a lot of value. So, yeah, eventually I will be making some moves in my defensive line. That is definitely going to be the case. But I do like having Palmer, Saka, and Haaland with Solanke in there. But, yeah, no team's perfect. I will get things right very soon. I think it will click eventually, and this might be the week, but if not, it will be later on. How often do you regret selling this player that doesn't perform and the next game week he scores or assists? It has happened before in FPL, trust me. Eze could still be one of those options, actually, thinking about it, but not for me personally, by the way, but I think for those selling this week, you know, he's got that potential to score and get bonus points. But in my case, this season, I can't think of many. Because I think, my transfers this season, the wildcard in Game Week 6, I also got Joao Pedro in, and I sold Saka for Salah. And then, yeah, just the timing of those sorts of moves has been painful. I hope Palmer and Foden don't do damage, but it is possible. To be honest, it is possible. Tune in late due to work. What was your move? I bought in Palmer for Diaz, and I sold Trent for Van den Berg, which is just terrible, isn't it? But yeah, I will be improving my defensive line in the coming weeks. I'm just hoping Van den Berg and Lewis can get constant starts in the meantime. But it's good to see a bit of variety, I think, with some people this season. Yeah, I would have moved to Foden if there was any reliable leak. Same here. But I think he will start, by the way. It's worth mentioning. But like I said before, my reason for just buying Palmer is he's locked in for my team, for the foreseeable future. It might be knee-jerky based on last week, but he will get a lot of returns this season, and I don't see many outscoring him. Thank you, FUT24. Massively appreciated. I just do Palmer captain, don't want to think too much. That's fair. I still think Haaland's better this week, though. Yeah, I think so, Cylindra. So let's go to FPL Challenge, and then we'll go to the other stuff, which includes the predictions. So Raya, Gabriel, Palmer, Salah, and Haaland is in my team. One of my kind of reasonings for going for Palmer and Salah is because I didn't have them in my normal setup, but I do have Palmer now. So yeah, I might even change Palmer to Saka, possibly, but Salah will definitely be my captain, I think, in FPL Challenge, since I don't have him in normal FPL. So hopefully I benefit in some way in one of these fantasy formats. But that's my current team. I don't think much will change. I'm not really interested in the Asian Pacific players this week. If Matoma had a better fixture, I'd definitely be interested. And of course, Heung-min Son is injured, unfortunately. So yeah, I think I'm fairly settled with this team. Probably template, to be honest, but that is FPL sometimes. Let's go to my predictions. So this was my team beforehand with Trent and Diaz. Sorry. And now I've got Palmer and Van den Berg. no Liverpool players whatsoever in my squad. So just enjoy that Liverpool win. So, Palace Liverpool. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Liverpool. I'm tempted between 2-1 and 3-1. But I think Palace do get a goal, and I'm hoping they do. Arsenal Southampton. I'm going to go for 3-0 Arsenal. But don't be surprised if Arsenal do concede. It seems like they concede cheap goals at home, or won the goals, and kind of maybe unlucky ones, like the first goal against Havertz, the one that Justin scored. I'm going to go for 3-0. Brentford Wolves, 2-1 Brentford. Yeah, 2-1 Brentford. Leicester Bournemouth. I think Leicester get the win here. I'm also going to go for a 2-1. Man City Fulham, 3-1 Man City. West Ham Ipswich Town. I'm going to go for a 3-2 West Ham. Everton Newcastle. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Aston Villa Man United, difficult one. It's actually difficult for me because Villa are the better team, but United have a good record against them. Even last season did the double over them. I'm... Tricky one. It really is. I'm actually going to go for a... Yeah, I think Villa get the win. Yeah. 4-2 Aston Villa. Chelsea Nottingham Forest. I think it'll be a tight match. I really do. I'm going to go for 2-1 Chelsea. And then finally Brighton Spurs, 2-2 draw. Those are my predictions for the week. Some of them I'm not entirely sure about, as you can tell, especially the United one. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. Thank you to Chuka. I transferred in Foden. I like that. I like that. And I was tempted by Foden, but ultimately, in the end, I just bought Palmer. Buying Foden would have allowed me to buy a better defender. So, yeah. Overall, though, I do like that. That should really work well for the next couple of weeks, as long as rotation doesn't play a big part. So thank you very much, Chuka. All the best of luck this week. Is Foden a knee-jerk? I'm scared I might regret because he did cost me a -4. It might be a knee-jerk in terms of he scored a midweek, played very well, got player of the match, and people are now buying him. But I think there's always an element of knee-jerk in FPL, and it might have been the case in, with me selling Diaz to Palmer and selling Trent. That's my biggest concern. Selling Trent is always a bad one, but yeah, overall, I think Foden is a good transfer. Ramsdale redemption today. He's still a good goalkeeper. I still think Arsenal just have too much quality for Southampton, and so long as they don't, fumble today, I think Arsenal get the job done. I went straight from the top to the bottom on my mini league last game week. All the other teams had Palmer and no Trent or Saka, so Foden plus Trent, Saka this game week might just be what I need, which is what I went for. Yeah, but I think it changes every single week, right? It could be this week Trent gets a goal, gets a clean sheet, and a massive haul. Honestly, if it happens now, I wouldn't be surprised, and it's just a bit of bad luck maybe in terms of timing, but you could take the rough with the smooth, and yeah, maybe this week you'll benefit and go right back up to the top, but there's no guarantee. Would you have started Eze or Delap? Close, but I probably would have gone for Delap. Palmer's the most transferred in player who's just a mid player. Well, to be fair, I've never said Palmer's mid, to be honest. And no one can really say that. He's not a one-season wonder. He's so young with a lot of potential. But I did think that this season he'd get fewer goals in the Premier League because of less penalties or fewer penalties. Maybe he'll still get 20 plus. We'll wait and see. Got to get some Liverpool coverage for the match. Yeah, of course. Palace are winless this season. So yeah, I'm going to regret selling Trent. I know that. I'm saying it now. I'm going to regret selling Trent. But I've made my move. So I triple captain Haaland. Good luck, Sahil. I would have waited until Game Week 9 if I still had it myself, but it could still work for you. He scored a hat-trick against Fulham last season. I did Diaz and Dibbling to Bowen and Mavadidi, and I benched Mbumo. I wouldn't have benched Mbumo. I personally wouldn't have. Maybe it will work for you, but I just saying my own opinion, I wouldn't have done it. 9-0 Arsenal, Saka scoring 25 points this game week. I wish, but I don't think so. I don't think Arsenal will score. They could score 5 or 6, they could, but I'm going for 3-0. If Saka got 25 points, I'd be happy, although maybe a bit regretful that I didn't captain him. Thank you very much, FPL Diamond. Like, share, subscribe, support your quality channel as you continue to get brilliant content on a consistent basis. Thank you very much, as always, for your kind words, and good luck in Game Week 7. Since Ipswich lost in Game Week 1 and 2 against Liverpool and City, Ipswich drew all the last 4 games. Yeah. But I'm backing West Ham for a win in this one. It's going to be close either way. Villa 5, United 1. 2-1 Villa. Yeah, I know, look, everyone would suggest and kind of be confident of a Villa victory here, but don't be surprised if United get something. That's why I was hesitant to keep Watkins this week. Villa are really good, but United have a good record, and we always get a big win after a bad spell. Yeah, Ten Hag always seems to find a way to stay in the job. Also, Watkins has really good fixtures after United, so hopefully his sub 30% ownership helps me. Yeah, no, I still like Watkins, even if he blanks against United, which is possible. I don't think his record against the Red Devils is the greatest. I was actually thinking of 3-3 as well. Ten Hag stays. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that. Now that DCL's out of my squad, he can score 1,000,000 goals and I won't care because whenever I start him, he blanks and hauls on my bench. Yeah, it's good to get rid of players like that cause you a headache, that always it seems like you can't do right by them. No matter what you do, it's like the wrong decision, so just get rid of him. I understand that. I transferred him Palmer and Aït-Nouri. Well, I did say I don't like Aït-Nouri that much, but he's probably better than Van den Berg overall, so yeah, I can see why you've done it. By the way, just for what you see on screen, that isn't my squad now. I did make 2 free transfers, and I did buy Van den Berg and Palmer. What am I doing? Who knows this season? But hopefully, this will be the start of a comeback. My defensive line is weak, though, and I will improve it fairly soon. Kept Savia for another week, and then Diaz to Johnson. Thoughts? Yeah? No, that looks pretty good to me. If I made 1 free transfer, it would have been Bowen or Johnson for Diaz, so... With no Rico news, it didn't feel right selling Trent. My final transfer was Salah, Diaz, Pedro, DCL out for Palmer, McNeil, Solanke, Havertz. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I just didn't want to sell Solanke with Spurs' good fixtures. Otherwise, he would be the cash cow to keep Trent. But yeah, 40 Villa is probably the boldest prediction. Yeah, possibly. Possibly. Because United have kept it, well, not tight against Villa. They did concede 2 at Old Trafford and 1 at Villa Park. But yeah, I'm just going for a big win or a high-scoring game. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you think of bringing Antonio in? No, I wouldn't go there. If you're buying a West Ham player, go for Bowen. Maybe Kudus, but I wouldn't go for Antonio. I can see you might have a low-scoring game week. Maybe wasting. At this point, it wouldn't be anything surprising. But we'll wait and see. Do you see Mazraoui providing assists as United don't keep clean sheets? A few assists this season. Not anything special, but I think he'll get a fair few, maybe 5 or 6 throughout the campaign. Last game, you almost made me buy Saka instead of Palmer, but I followed my instinct. Still enjoy the content though. Cheers from your brother from South Africa. Yeah, look, of course, with a decision like that, it can always go one way or the other. I still think buying Saka last week wasn't a bad move. It's just a bad outcome. And yeah, with Palmer, what he did is incredible. He might end up blanking now against Forest, and it is what it is. But I'd only be able to do Palmer if I downgraded Trent to a 4.4 defender like Fass or Aït-Nouri. Yeah, in my case, I went for Van den Berg. Yeah, not really a big fan of a lot of those options. Now, look, if I already had, let's say, for example, I had Borro, and I was looking at buying a 4-point from in defender, and I didn't have Mikalenko, that would have been perfect for me. But yeah, it's definitely clear that my defense is weak on paper, but who knows at this point. We've got to have Alisson goal, hoping for a clean sheet and green arrows for all. Likewise to FPL Kevy, but I'm not going to lie, a Palace goal would be great. Bought in Foden and Gvardiol for Diaz and Trent, mainly because I'm expecting a price rise from both over the next 4. No, but I like those transfers anyway. For a hit, it's a bit but still. Problem with Palmer is you don't own him for 2 specific weeks out of the first 6. He's underwhelming for the price. You just have to hold on to him indefinitely. Well, that's my plan, right? So I was thinking about buying Foden and then getting Palmer in eventually. But I'm just happy to get Palmer in and not really think about him too much. I don't see myself selling him unless an injury happens or something like that. Locked in, holding Robinson, captain Saka, and roll the transfer. Hope it's not too much pain. Yeah, I mean, that's always the hope, right? But FPL can throw curveballs. Do you see Mazraoui providing assists? Yeah, that's already covered. 3-0 Villa. Hopefully then Ten Hag is gone by Monday morning. But I'm not sure if it was you, Sahil, but I remember a conversation with a United fan recently where they were saying that United have improved, this season. But maybe it was due, but of course the last few results and performances have obviously changed things. Man United get a draw against better than Bayern Villa. It's possible. That's what I mean. I wouldn't be surprised if United win or draw against Villa. So yeah, all good, Orange Apple. That's been covered. Want United to win just for Ten Hag to stay. It benefits all teams. We need entertainment every weekend. Yeah, look, I also wish for the same. But it might be the last straw. Good luck, Wei saying. Arsenal 2, Southampton 2. We still remember the last time they went to the Emirates. Yeah, but Arsenal much different now. They were in freefall when they drew to Southampton at the Emirates 2 years ago. Ramsdale obviously made a big mistake in the first minute, which didn't help things whatsoever. I don't see that happening again. Yeah, my defense is also very weak, but you can't have a perfect team. Palmer's inconsistency, but tendency to get a massive haul and a random week means you have to permanently hold him. I see what you're saying, but I don't think Palmer's inconsistent. I think he is consistent, but there might be weeks where he's a bit frustrating. He might only get an assist and he should have gotten a massive haul, and Game Week 7 might be it. Honestly, one of my predictions would be Palmer to maybe be underwhelming for the next two, but I'm still happy to buy him. I can see Roger, Semenyo, Van der Beek, Blank, and Lewis not starting. We'll wait and see, innit? My final defense starting is Gabriel, Lewis, and Fass. Yeah, as long as you've got a bit of decent defensive coverage, you should be fine. Bought in Calvert-Lewin for today's game instead of Wood. Yeah, good luck. I mean, he's got a good record against Newcastle, as mentioned many times today, so not the worst. So, Twister Park has gone for 2-1 Liverpool, 4-0 Arsenal, I think. 2-1 Brentford, 1-1 Leicester. That's a good prediction. 4-0 City, 1-1 West Ham Ipswich, 2-1 Newcastle, 2-1 United, 2-1 Chelsea, and 2-2. Yeah, we've gone for the same one there for Brighton. Yeah, I think I could see a lot of those being true, even though I disagree with some of them originally. I think Palmer's the second must-have after Haaland. He can score against bigger teams, so fixtures don't really matter for him. Yeah, Arsenal at home in a few weeks, I think Palmer scores or gets a return. Liverpool away is tough. It is, but Palmer's just the quality player. Seems like DCL is an overrated pick. Wood looks better. He's all right still, but Calvert-Lewin's frustrating. Yeah, I think McNeil looks better at the moment. Lineups are out. Yep. Diaz and Robertson benched. I was asked about Robertson a few times today. I did mention the possibility of rotation with Tsimikas. We'll go for the lineups now for Palace and Liverpool. Let's see if I can get them up. So yeah, just give me a second. Bear with me. All right. So we'll get Crystal Palace's lineup first, although it won't be of much interest, I'm sure. So, Henderson, Munoz, Chalobah, who makes his Premier League debut for Crystal Palace, Gay, Lacroix, Mitchell, Lerma, Wharton, Eze, Sarr, and Nketiah. So Mateta is on the bench. Okay, yeah, he is on the bench. I think I was asked earlier about Mateta or... who was it? Smith Rowe? Something like that. I did say Mateta there, so apologies. But yeah, Mateta's benched. I think, yeah, the reasoning for that would be the imbalance they've had in recent weeks. Just having Nketiah in a deeper position, yeah, it's just not going to work, or at least it's not working right now. With Liverpool, Alisson, Van Dijk, Konate, McAllister, Salah, Jones, Gakpo, Jota, Tsimikas, Gravenberch, and Trent Alexander-Arnold. So, yeah, I sold Diaz this week. I bought him on the wildcard in 6. That's a complete flop. I obviously sold Jota, so if Jota hauls again, I'd obviously be very pissed. But yeah, Jota, he's an FPL troll for me. Like I said earlier, just a few months ago in a double game week last season, I bought Jota in. He gets an assist and then gets injured, and that's pretty much it. So I've got a bad record with Jota, it seems, as an FPL asset. He'll probably score today. I just hope that Liverpool concede and that Salah doesn't go crazy. Is that too much to ask for? Probably. But yeah, Liverpool have made quite a few changes here. Obviously with Robertson being benched, same with Luis Diaz, and they've gone for Jones in the midfield. So quite a lot of changes here for Liverpool, but still a strong lineup nonetheless. So let's go back to my team. And you might be wondering, how is Van den Berg in my 11? Well, late moves were made. Let's put it that way. Keep on smashing the like button, by the way, if you haven't already. Let's get this to 150 likes at the very least. And thank you to those that are still watching and all the super chatters, patrons, and members. Eze on pens finally. Yeah, there's no debate now because he does share them with Mateta. As long as Mateta is on the pitch when Eze takes it, he should be good to go. Is Lewis starting? Once again, we haven't got confirmation on that. Leaf Davis to control the game and provide an assist against West Ham. Cheers for the stream. Have a good one, buddy. Likewise to you. I do like Davis for the attacking potential. Not much for the clean sheets, but Ipswich have been impressive. Yeah, Diaz bench, who to replace with Maddison. Well, the deadline, of course, is gone now, but yeah, Maddison would have been okay. I do prefer Johnson and Bowen at a similar price. We did get better players, but turns out the coach is the problem. There has been an improvement in certain games, but I've said this all along to my Man United friends. I just don't see Ten Hag being a solution. He's covered over the cracks of the cups, which, of course, trophies are important. But in terms of league success and long-term improvement, I just don't think he's the guy for Man United. Palmer's a good pick for FPL, especially Palmer not used for Conference League. Better rest him for EPL. Yeah, that's one of my key reasons for going for him instead of Foden from the get-go. Is this going to be the week where City defenders finally get a clean sheet? Good question. Possible, but you can never really count on it. Why does Scaloni get overlooked for club football? Well, to be honest, he's already at Argentina, who for me are the best national team in the world, and he was thinking about leaving, and I think he was linked to AC Milan, actually. So I think clubs have been interested, but there is a big difference between club football and international football. Maybe Scaloni goes into a club like United and doesn't do well. He speaks a bit of English, but it's not his first language. He still would have to learn the culture again. He was at West Ham as a player, of course. But yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but why would you go from Argentina to Man United right now? I don't think it really makes much sense. Thank you very much, Manu. Also, the best of luck to you as well. Jota may get a lot of games. Was impressed last week. Nearly kept. Yeah, let's not even get onto that guy. Palace defence looks interesting. Could be only a sneaky 1-0 win for Liverpool. Yeah, it could be low scoring, to be fair. I could see that. And also early kickoff curse. Come on. Play a part for Trent and Salah, please. Actually, Akanji might be the best seat defender after Gvardiol. I've said Akanji a lot, actually, when asked about him in UCL Fantasy and FPL. But I've gone for Lewis because he's cheaper. And with Rodri's injury, I think he'll get more game time than before. Got lucky, had Robertson before wildcard 7. Well, at least you got off at the right time, with the fixtures as well in mind. I would hope Salah goes crazy. I have him over Palmer. We're all hoping for different things, right? I've gone for a Palace goal. I'll stick with it, but I've always got that kind of owner's bias where when I sell someone, I'm fearing the worst, especially given recent weeks. Thank you, New Clams. Cheers, Dylan, for helping me choose my transfer route. My 11 is Flecken, Borro, Trent, Gabriel, McNeil, Palmer, Semenyo, Mbumo, Solanke, Havertz, Haaland captain. Wish me luck with my -12. Good transfers, though, and a very solid team. So I wish you the best, and hopefully the hits pay off. Even if it doesn't this week, they should do in the long term. If Jota breaks, will everyone sell Diaz to Jota? Not me. I've got Palmer, so there's no chance I'm doing that. I'm happy I've just gone away from it. I think Jota gets a goal today, and I hope he doesn't. But yeah, I'm kind of just made my peace with it. Yeah, the teams are out, mate. We've shown both of them already. It is a big shame, but we did get kind of a leak before the deadline, and that's why I pulled the trigger and sold Diaz for Palmer, and I also sold Trent in the process. So wildcard 1 and 2 says Twisted Parky. I went 1, so you did go for 1 in the end, right? Okay, so Sells, Van der Ven, Gabriel, Gvardiol, Van den Berg, Twanzebe, Rogers and Boomer, McNeil, Saka, Palmer, Solanke, Wood, Haaland. 2 transfers get me back to Salah. And the second wild card would have been Raya. Okay, I see that. Yeah, fair enough. I don't like Sells that much long-term, though. I know Forrest had been good defensively. He would have been the other 4-point family and goalkeeper to really go for, apart from Flecken, so I get that. I like the team a lot, to be fair. It's absolutely fine. Twanzebe, maybe you could have gone for Greaves, although it's not really a big deal. I just don't think Twanzebe starts as often. But yeah, it's a very good team. It really is. Feels like I've sacrificed my game week with -12, but the transfers on paper were for the greater good. Yeah. No, I get that. And sometimes big hits do work. A lot of times I recommend to people try not to take hits unless absolutely necessary, but they can really work out sometimes if you're aggressive. I've gone Diaz to Foden. I can see that working very well today. if Foden goes off and Palmer blanks, I might just regret it, but it is what it is. Clutch move to put Diaz on the bench and play Rodgers. Yeah, especially if Diaz comes on for a one-pointer. But it might be like Jota the other week where he just doesn't play a single minute, so it makes no difference. But it's good to do that in case. I almost got Robertson. Thought Gavardio might suffer the same fate. Yeah, he might do. If not in Game Week 7, it could be later in the season, but it's always a big problem with City defenders. I remember last season, Salah repaid my -12 hit immediately, so hoping for the same. Yeah, I see that. Players like Salah can always help with hits. Yeah, the FPL update I think is still going on. It should be done fairly soon, though. They have improved on that this season. As a Chelsea fan, Tuchel's the best manager for United. He's known for saving messy teams. His weakness is that he may not have the same mind as the management. That's pretty fair to say. I do think Tuchel's league record, though, isn't great, so it could be another case of doing well in the Cups, maybe in Europa League, winning that, but is he really going to take United to challenging for leagues? And I'm not sure, to be honest, but Tuchel is a good manager. Tactically, he is one of the best in the world. Hopefully not FPL Diamond, but we're all hoping for different things. If Arsenal's clean sheet is wiped out, I'm in big trouble defensively. I don't like sells either, but fixtures, yeah, I get that. Diaz can still score as a sub. He could. But I think Jota's the best Liverpool attacker in terms of making an impact off the bench. Yeah, of course, we've gone through the lineups already. If you rewind a little bit, you'll see both lineups. Name a player colder than Palmer, I will wait. I mean, Rodgers did the celebration first. Yeah, Palmer, I get it. You know, he is synonymous now with coldness, but he was bantered in the summer with those memes. I think they were pretty good. Thank you to everyone for watching. It has been a blast for the past few hours. If you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe for new. Our aim is to get this stream to 200 likes. Let's try to get this to 150 at the very least. And let's keep on pushing towards 35 subscribers and beyond. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the other links in the description below for my Patreon and the championships. Also, the Discord server, FPL League Drafthound, as well as Spotify. Leave a 5-star review on my podcast. It would go a long way to spoil my channel. Inzaghi to United is the manager I want. Yeah, Inzaghi's doing really well at Inter Milan. There is a bit of a drop-off this season, but it's very early days. You can't judge too much. But yeah, Inzaghi is one of the best coaches in Europe, and Inter Milan also one of the best teams. A couple of people had Robertson in my mini-league. Life is so good right now. Yeah, I'm hoping for similar luck in my mini-leagues as well, but it's still very early days, of course. Do you have a favourite goal in football? Maybe that you've watched or? That's a good question. The favourite goal I've seen, which includes like highlights and stuff, would be Maradona against England. Just the context of the game, the solo dribble. It's, for me, the best goal of all time. But then I've got like other personal favourites. Henry against Man United, you know, the flick and, you know, the volley over the top. I mean, that's an incredible goal. Bergkamp against Newcastle. Also Messi against Athletic Bilbao. Although, you know, with Messi, my favourite goals from him would be for Argentina. The one against Bosnia, you know, his first goal in a World Cup. I love that goal, the celebration, the solo dribble. So I've got quite a few, actually, but Maradona against England is my favourite. If you had to choose in Melbourne Storm or Penrith Panthers, you know what? I used to have a primary school teacher who was Australian, and he would actually get us into, you know, Australian football, but I don't remember anything. I'm sorry. Like, if I had to pick one, I honestly know nothing about either team. It probably would be Melbourne Storm, but honestly, I know nothing, so it's probably not I'm not the best person to ask. Benzema versus Palmer, who is more composed? Well, Benzema used to be actually ridiculed for his finishing. It's early days with Palmer. Look, he's destined for greatness, it seems, and he's already performing at a high level, but yeah, I mean, I'd probably say Benzema, sorry. Love that you stay around for after the deadline. Thank you very much, FPL Diamond. See, I've been a bit slow recently. Do you think they will smash today? But they had a very good start, though. They had a very good start. It's just in recent weeks they've been a bit But yeah, I think they'll get 3 or 4 goals against Fulham. Good luck as well, Arthur. Panthers 26-20, bro. Says Music. Yeah, like I said, I know nothing about him. Nothing. There's rumours we're in talks with Inzaghi, so I hope we can make it happen. He is both a league and UCL manager. Yeah. But if a move were to happen, it probably would be at the end of the season. They might be in talks now, but we could see a case where United have an interim and then get Inzaghi. But let's see, though. Maybe Ten Hag stays. Getafe, says Sonika. Can't wait to win FPL without Haaland and Salah. Oh, I wish you the best in your efforts there. Panthers won it 3 years straight. Yeah, but doesn't mean it should be my favourite team. So yeah, no DS start. Yep. Crystal Palace have conceded 9 goals till now, whereas Forest have conceded only 5. Yeah, but in either case, I've got Palmer in. It's not like I'm selling Salah this week, and Diaz is on the bench, so not really too bothered about selling Diaz. My issue is selling Trent, with my defensive line being weak now. Goodbye, Nuclear Arms. Also, good to see you, Gary. Richard says, hey Dylan, we'll have 5 free transfers after the international break. Nice. Barring injuries, any suggestions here? Yeah, Joao Pedro would be a sell for me. That kind of springs to mind. I'd also look at selling maybe one of Semenyo or Smith Rowe. So investing more money in your midfield. Now, Salah is still a good option against Chelsea and Arsenal, but you could maybe sell Salah. There's a lot of things you could do with 5 free transfers. It's essentially a mini wildcard for you. With your defensive line, the only one I'd maybe look at selling is, well, Dunk and Robinson. And I think Dunk would be the one. So yeah, it's very interesting actually. With 5 free transfers, you've got so many opportunities and possibilities. So that is a very good position to be in, Richard. But essentially the players I'd highlight to sell would be Dunk, one of Semenyo or Smith Rowe. But with Semenyo, you could just bench him in game weeks 8 to 10 and then bring him back into the fold. And yeah, Joao Pedro would be sold. Possibly Havertz as well. So yeah, those would definitely be the ones you could make moves in. So you can buy the likes of Solanke and maybe one of the Lap, someone like that, a budget forward for Joao Pedro. In the midfield, you could do something like Salah to... But to be honest, I'd probably keep Salah for now. I'd keep Salah. But he is kind of like a cash cow. It's a way of opening up the funds for the other moves you may want to make. Mavididi, Marcus Class in Game Week 7. I do like Mavididi, to be fair, as an FPL option. I think he could be decent. Up the Storm, have a good FPL game week, Dylan. Thank you very much to Man, the Myth, the Legend. I appreciate that. Delhi for your 2 team. Like and subscribe for all the best content here. Peace. Thank you very much. Very good squad, by the way. Yeah, Haaland captain. I like the look of it. Looks very, very solid, actually. Not a big fan of Kilman, but against Ipswich, that could work this week. Good squad. I don't want Inzaghi, says Arthur. Rude interim and Inzaghi at the end of the season. Yeah, a few United fans I know, they kind of have that inkling that Ruud van Nistelrooy will become the interim manager, and if he does well, maybe the permanent one. It could be another Ollie situation. But yeah, Messi goal against Getafe. Yeah, no, that's a good one. It's similar to the Maradona one. No, that's why it's a great goal. But I just think with the context of the Maradona one and also it being for one of my teams, I'm going to go for that. Not that well. It was a very poor week for me. I'll update all the ranks and stuff and see how I did eventually. But yeah, it was a week to forget. But the bright side of it is that I can now use the Limitless in Matchday 3, possibly, with all the clashes I've got with Barcelona and Bayern and a few problems like Di Gregorio. My goalkeepers have been terrible. I like EFL because more route to points can get rewards for someone that plays well but no attack and returns. I like games that reward stuff like that because it gives another dimension to the game, like ball recoveries and UCL fantasy. Is Palmer the best pen taker currently? One of the best. You never really have the impression he's going to miss, but the more penalties he's going to take, eventually I think there will be a time where he does miss, and it happens to most people. But I think there's a few rare examples of players who have never missed a penalty. I think Perotti for Roma at one stage had like 30 penalties scored from 30, which is incredible. Gary says roll this week. I was going to roll, but with the Diaz news, I sold him to Palmer. But good luck. I was busy with work and didn't transfer Luis Diaz. Do you think he's going to get good minutes off the bench? It depends on game state, right? If Liverpool are trailing or not winning the game, I think you could see Diaz getting 30, 40 minutes. Yeah, Diaz is benched. We did cover it before the deadline passed. Bore Mavididi, good luck FPL sum. I like that. Nice one. Very good score match day 2. Sahil puts his team. Good squad as well. Good squad. Mazraoui still one to hold, I think, although United aren't the most reliable defensively. If we get Inzaghi, bye-bye Garnacho and Ahmad, says Arthur. Yeah, I mean, look, it might be different, though. I think he would manage United differently to Inter Milan because, I mean, is he really going to start the likes of Anthony over Garnacho and Ahmad? I don't think so. Thank you very much, Gary. Should feel better soon. For some reason, my laptop is freezing a little bit. Not sure exactly why. Can't wait to see Palmer playing left-back next week. Yeah, it seems like... Yeah, by the way, my Yeah, even my camera I think looks a bit weird. I'm not sure what's happening there. I saw the comments by the England interim manager. A bit strange, to be honest. You don't want to play Palmer there. You want to play him down the middle or on the right, but it is what it is. Bernardo Silva is off. Do you see him getting his form back? I own him as a third City player. Bernardo Silva's a quality player, but he's never been one for the goals and assists, so he's not someone I'd recommend in FPL. Took a punt on Baleba, swap with Ahmad. He did score a brace against Chelsea. He's a good player. By the way, I'm not sure if it's my laptop or it's actually the just the chat. 1 second, I apologize for that. Maybe it's a sign I should end the stream. But yeah, look, with Baleba, I'm not sure he's someone I'd necessarily recommend in FPL, but hopefully it pays off for you. Maddison's been looking really good lately. True. But I do think FPL-wise, he can be frustrating. He's got really good numbers, a bit like Bruno Fernandes, but he's not really getting the goals and assists he should. How do you rank the best 4 teams in Premier League right now? It's too early, but I think there's a clear division between the 3 best teams in the league, Arsenal, City and Liverpool with the rest. At the moment, I'd favour the likes of Villa or Chelsea for 4th, but that could really change in a couple of weeks. If United get a new manager, I wouldn't be surprised if they get 4th, to be honest. So it's really early days. I also think Spurs are in really good form. You know, they've also got a chance for 4th, but I'd favour Villa or Chelsea right now. I have a funny feeling that Saka gets a hat-trick this weekend. I honestly wouldn't mind it. I'd be a bit gutted because I didn't captain him, but yeah, it's possible. No Diaz and Szoboszlai is good for Salah. Possibly. I hope not. Højlund would cook with Inzaghi. Yeah. And by the way, he got a good record against Villa. Scored in both games last season against them. He could maybe do something in Game Week 7. I think Jota could get points because of how Palace defend so deep. Yeah, I think Jota will get points today. I sold him in the Game Week 6 wildcard. No comment. I'm not sure about Pogba back to the Premier League, but never say never. Never say never. Oh, okay. Thank you there, Andy. Good advice for people watching. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I just had a few, even with the transition, I think at one point it was kind of freezing. Not sure what happened there. And the live chat was, really bugging out and eventually just crashed for me. It's very rare for that to happen. I mean, in terms of leaving the club, because Inzaghi plays a front 2, Højlund, Xerxes and Rashford. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Xerxes been... Look, he's a new signing. He's still very young, but his finishing has been very poor so far. I kept Jota. Good stuff. We'll see how he does this week. Hopefully not too well, but all the best to you. Thank you, FPL Diamond. Yeah, we have got 250 likes, so thank you to everyone. Once again, I encourage you to join me on Twitter and Instagram and check all the other links like my Discord server, the FPL League, Drafthound, and Spotify. Also check out my Patreon and consider becoming a channel member by clicking the join button for early access to my videos, amongst many other perks. I'll see you very soon for more FPL and Use Your Fantasy content. There is an international break, but there'll still be content nonetheless. The reaction stream will either be today or tomorrow. I'll keep you posted, but yeah, at the moment I have to say it looks more likely tomorrow, but I am open-minded and very soon I'll feel better and you won't have this annoying voice for the next few videos and live streams. Take care, everyone. I wish you the best of luck for Game Week 7 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you very soon.